Chapter 1: The Beginning of the End. Watch where you're going, brat. A middle-aged man grumbled as he adjusted his jacket, glaring at a boy who had just bumped into him. "I'm so sorry, sir," the boy said, scrambling to his feet. He bowed repeatedly, his voice trembling with apology, before darting away as fast as his legs could carry him. The man sighed, shaking his head as he watched the boy's retreating figure. "Poor kid," he muttered to himself. Meanwhile, the boy kept running, his heart pounding in his chest. His eyes darted to the bus pulling away from the stop ahead. He skidded to a halt, frustration bubbling over as he clenched his fists. "Damn it! Late again," he muttered under his breath. He let out a shaky sigh and slumped onto the bench at the bus stop, running a hand through his unruly dark hair. His name was Adam Dark, a 19-year-old with a lot on his shoulders. He'd graduated high school 3 years ago, but dreams of college were far behind him. Life didn't leave room for those. As the eldest sibling, he had to care for his 8-year-old twin brother and sister, Alfred and Arya, after their parents passed away. No relatives had stepped up to help, so Adam stepped in, using what little his parents had saved to keep his siblings in school. As Adam sat there, staring at the pavement, the next bus pulled up. He jumped to his feet, hurried inside, and found a seat, letting his thoughts wander as the city passed by outside the window. Elsewhere, at a bustling restaurant, the sound of clattering pans and hurried footsteps filled the air. "Where the hell is Adam?" A sharp voice cut through the noise. The speaker was a woman in her late 20s, stepping out from the kitchen with her arms crossed. Her piercing gray eyes swept over the room, landing on a group of young waitresses who were wiping sweat from their brows. She was tall, with a sleek figure that was as intimidating as her demeanor. Her jet-black hair was tied tightly into a bun, not a single strand out of place. Her pale complexion only made her crimson lipstick stand out more, giving her a striking, almost regal look. The staff called her Gloria, though most knew her by another name, the Ice Queen. With her sharp features and colder-than-winter attitude, nobody dared to cross her. Her tailored black suit fit her like armor, and her polished heels clicked ominously against the floor as she moved. She rarely smiled, and when she did, it was reserved for customers, never her staff. "He's late again, isn't he?" Gloria said, her tone biting as she zeroed in on one of the waitresses. The girl, barely holding herself together, stammered, You what?" Gloria snapped, raising an eyebrow. "I asked you a question, and I expect an answer, not stuttering. Last I checked, you could speak just fine." The waitress froze, her face turning red as the other staff members avoided eye contact with Gloria. The Ice Queen didn't wait for a response. She simply scoffed and muttered under her breath, "Useless," before striding back toward the kitchen, her heels echoing in the silence she left behind. As soon as the kitchen door swung shut behind Gloria, the front door of the restaurant opened, and Adam stumbled in, breathing heavily. "You're in for it now, kid," the oldest waitress, Becca, said as she walked up to him. But her scolding tone softened as she patted his head gently. "Don't push yourself too hard, Adam. You need to take care of yourself too, you know?" Adam managed a small smile. "I hear you, Becca. But if I take a break, who's going to look after my siblings?" Becca sighed, shaking her head as Adam hurried toward the kitchen. The moment he stepped inside, Gloria's icy glare locked onto him. "So, what's your excuse today? And while you're at it, why not come up with one for tomorrow too?" she said sharply, her gray eyes narrowing as she crossed her arms. Adam let out a nervous chuckle, but it died quickly under her glare. Scratching the back of his head, he said, "I had to take my siblings to school, and I missed the bus. That's why I'm late, madam." Gloria tapped her fingers on the counter, clearly unimpressed. "That's not a good enough excuse, Adam. You need to plan better. Put them on the school bus. That's what it's there for." She sighed, her stern expression softening just a little. "Look, I understand your situation, and I've let it slide today, but don't expect me to be this lenient next time. People are starting to think I'm playing favorites. Yes, madam, Adam said quickly, bowing slightly before making his way to the changing room to get into his work uniform. Gloria shook her head as she turned back to her work, muttering under her breath, "That boy's going to give me gray hairs." As quickly as the day started, it was over for Adam. He was in the changing room, pulling off his work uniform, ready to head home. Just then, Anita, the waitress who'd been stuttering earlier under Gloria's glare, walked in. She froze in the doorway, her cheeks instantly turning bright red. Adam's back was to her, revealing lean, well-defined muscles that moved with every slight shift of his body. His broad shoulders and toned arms looked like they belonged to someone who worked out regularly, though his slim waist suggested he didn't have much time to eat properly. His skin had a warm, sun-kissed tone, and there was a faint scar on his left shoulder, probably from some childhood mishap. When Adam turned around, wiping the sweat off his face with a towel, Anita's eyes widened slightly. His chest was firm, his abs subtly showing with each breath, not overly bulky but enough to catch anyone's attention.
Sorry.
Anita stammered, covering her face with her hands as she spun around to leave. Adam raised an eyebrow, confused. Anita? You good?
Yeah.
I just wrong room, she squeaked, rushing out as fast as her legs could carry her. Adam shook his head, chuckling to himself as he pulled on his shirt. Weird. With that, Adam left the changing room, waving goodbye to the others as he stepped out of the restaurant. The cool evening air hit him, and for a moment he sighed, letting the weight of the day ease off his shoulders. Then it happened. Bang! Bang! The sharp crack of gunfire echoed through the street, followed by a scream that pierced the night. Adam froze, his eyes widening in shock, but before he could react, a searing pain tore through his chest. Ugh! His breath hitched as his legs gave out beneath him. He stumbled forward, his hand clutching his shirt, now wet with blood, before collapsing onto the pavement. The world around him blurred shouts, running footsteps, distant screams. Everything was spinning. He tried to speak, but no words came. His vision dimmed, the streetlights above growing faint as the pain spread. And then, there was nothing. Chapter 2, Creation of All Things. The steady beeping of the hospital machine filled the quiet room as Adam lay motionless on the bed. His eyes closed. Suddenly, they snapped open. "Where am I?" he muttered, sitting up slightly and glancing around. The plain white walls, the faint smell of disinfectant, and the machines hooked up to him made it clear. He was in a hospital. I survived, or did I transmigrate to another world? He wondered aloud, the memory of stepping out of the restaurant and the sharp pain of a bullet flashing through his mind. Just then, the door opened, and a nurse walked in. She was strikingly unusual. Her snow-white hair fell neatly to her shoulders, framing her pale, almost doll-like face. Her sharp red eyes seemed to glow faintly, making her look otherworldly. She wore the standard nurse uniform, but the confidence in her posture made it seem like it was made for her. "You wish you transmigrated," she said with a playful smirk. "But sorry to burst your bubble. You're still stuck in this godforsaken world." Adam blinked, thrown off by her bluntness. Okay. And you are?" "I'm Jane," she said, walking over to check the machine by his bedside. "I'll be your attending nurse." Adam frowned, his confusion deepening. How did I survive? I mean, a bullet to the head. Shouldn't that be instant death? Jane let out a sigh, her red eyes meeting his. "That's the question everyone's been asking. When you were brought in, you were already healing. And here you are, fully recovered in just 2 weeks. That's one hell of a feat. For a human, at least." Adam stared at her, his brows furrowing. "For a human? What's that supposed to mean?" Jane only smiled, a mysterious glint in her eyes. "Let's just say, you're not as ordinary as you think." "Whatever," Adam muttered, slowly sitting up on the bed. "When am I getting discharged? I'm 2 weeks late, and my siblings are probably worried sick by now." Jane leaned against the wall, watching him with a curious expression. You should be discharged today. You know, it's funny, the first thing you think about after surviving a near-death experience is work and your siblings. That's kind of noble. Noble or not, I don't care, Adam replied, swinging his legs off the bed and standing up carefully. I just want to get out of here and back to my life. If I manage to survive, I'm not wasting another second sitting in this hospital. He glanced around the room. Where are my clothes? Jane smiled and pointed to the closet in the corner. But, she said, crossing her arms with a smirk, I still need to run a few tests to make sure you're completely fine. Oh, and let's not forget, there's the hospital bill you need to settle before you walk out of here. Adam froze, his shoulders tensing at the way she said it, almost like she was enjoying his reaction. He turned to her, narrowing his eyes. Are you even a real nurse? You don't act like one at all. Jane just gave him a mysterious grin, her red eyes glinting with amusement. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the room, leaving Adam standing there, more confused than ever. Adam quickly walked to the closet, grabbed his clothes, and got dressed. As he stepped out of the room, he saw Jane approaching him with a stack of documents. You're good to go now, she said, handing him the papers. You're completely fine. And as for your hospital bills, they've already been taken care of. Adam frowned, taking the documents from her. What? Who paid for them? I don't know anyone who'd do that for me. Jane shrugged, a teasing smile on her face. I have no idea. Maybe a secret admirer? Or maybe someone just felt sorry for you. She laughed lightly and walked off, leaving Adam standing there, confused. With a sigh, Adam clutched the documents and took one last look at Jane before heading out of the hospital. Outside, he flagged down a taxi and got in. The driver nodded and began the ride. Sitting in the back seat, Adam leaned his head against the window, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. Getting shot, waking up in the hospital, and that strange nurse, Jane. Nothing about the past few days felt normal. Then, out of nowhere, something appeared in front of him. A glowing, transparent panel floating in the air. His eyes widened. What the hell is this? He muttered, reaching out to touch it. The driver glanced at him in the rearview mirror. You okay back there, young man? Adam quickly pulled his hand back and looked at the driver. Judging by his expression, it seemed like he couldn't see the strange panel. Oh, nothing. Just thinking out loud, Adam replied, trying to sound casual. Turning his attention back to the panel, he decided to read what it said. Stats. Name, Adam Dark. Bloodline, percent hashtag dollar hashtag percent hashtag. Race, percent hashtag dollar hashtag percent hashtag.
Existence tiers, Unawa Kent. Physique, 1.
Mental 0.5. Soul, 1.5. Abilities, creation of all things, LVL 0, regeneration, LVL 1. Adam couldn't stop staring at the glowing panel in front of him. His eyes kept going back to the ability listed at the bottom. Creation of all things, LVL 0. What does that even mean? He mumbled under his breath. The moment he asked the question, the panel shifted slightly, almost as if it heard him. New text appeared, glowing faintly. Creation of all things, an ability tied to the essence of existence itself. Allows the user to bring forth anything from the depths of their imagination into reality. At its current level, the user is restricted to basic objects or items and cannot create anything with life or complex structures. The ability evolves with the user's growth and understanding. Adam's jaw nearly dropped. Anything? He whispered, trying to wrap his head around it. His mind raced with possibilities. Could he create food? Money? A house? Curiosity took over. He raised his hand slightly, glancing around to ensure the driver wasn't paying attention. Okay, let's test this out. He closed his eyes, focusing on something simple. A bottle of water. Nothing fancy, just something small and basic. When he opened his eyes, a faint shimmer appeared in the air above his palm. Slowly, a plain plastic water bottle materialized, solidifying until it looked completely real. Adam stared at it in disbelief. No way, he whispered, turning the bottle over in his hand. Felt real. It was cold to the touch, like it had just come out of a fridge. He unscrewed the cap and took a sip. It tasted like actual water. "Hey, everything good back there?" the driver asked, glancing at him again. Adam quickly shoved the bottle into his jacket pocket. Yeah, everything's fine." Leaning back in his seat, he stared out the window, trying to stay calm. His heart was racing. If this was just the beginning of what this ability could do, then what else was possible? He didn't know the limits yet, but one thing was clear: this power wasn't normal. And if anyone found out about it, his life would never be the same. Chapter 3. Back home. Adam arrived at his small but cozy home, where he spotted his younger siblings in the front yard. Alfred was juggling a worn-out soccer ball, while Arya sat at a table nearby, her textbook open in front of her. She glanced at her twin brother with clear irritation. "You should be studying, not wasting time playing," Arya snapped, her tone sharp. "Exams are next week, and all you care about is that stupid ball." Alfred rolled his eyes and kicked the ball into the makeshift goalpost Adam had built for him. "What's the point? I already know I'm not going to ace some scholarship exam. I'd rather focus on football tryouts than pretend to care about grades." As he turned to retrieve the ball, Alfred froze. His eyes widened when he noticed Adam standing by the gate, a warm smile on his face. "Adam!" Alfred shouted, dropping the ball and sprinting toward his older brother. He threw his arms around him, holding on tight. "I missed you so much. When we heard you got shot, I thought we lost you. But Nurse Jane said you'd pull through, and here you are." Before Adam could even respond, Arya dropped her book and rushed over. She wrapped her arms around him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're really okay," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I was so scared, Adam. I thought we'd never see you again." Adam held both of them close, a lump forming in his throat as he felt their relief and love. "I'm fine," he said softly. "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." For a moment, the three of them stood there in silence, holding on to each other as if afraid to let go. As they were having their little family reunion, Anita stepped out of the house wearing an apron. She called out to Alfred and Arya, "Dinner's ready," but stopped mid-sentence when her eyes landed on Adam. She froze, her face turning bright red, and without a word, she spun around and darted back inside. Adam raised an eyebrow, confused. "What's Anita doing here?" he asked, glancing at his siblings. Before he could get an answer, Arya spoke up. "Your boss asked her to look after us while you were in the hospital," she explained, crossing her arms with a smirk. Adam chuckled, shaking his head. "Didn't think the Ice Queen had it in her to care about me or anyone else, for that matter." The mood shifted instantly as a familiar, icy voice spoke up behind him. "Who are you calling the Ice Queen?" Adam froze on the spot, feeling the temperature around him plummet. Slowly, he turned around, and there she was, Gloria, his boss, standing there with a deathly calm expression that sent a chill down his spine. No one important," Adam muttered, scratching the back of his head awkwardly, hoping to avoid the storm he could already see brewing. "Oh, really?" Gloria asked, her lips curling into a smirk as she locked eyes with Adam. Adam, already sweating, froze in place. His siblings weren't sticking around to find out what would happen next. They bolted for the house like their lives depended on it. Yeah. "Really?" Adam stammered, taking a slow step backward, trying to act calm but failing miserably. Gloria raised an eyebrow, taking a step forward. Adam's eyes widened. Without another word, he spun on his heels and bolted for the door. "Get back here," Gloria shouted, her heels clicking loudly as she chased him. Adam skidded into the house, yelling, "Nope, not today. I value my life." From the kitchen, Anita peeked out, wide-eyed, as Adam dashed past her. Gloria stormed in right after him, muttering something about teaching him a lesson. By the time Gloria reached the living room, Adam had barricaded himself behind the couch, holding a cushion like it was a shield. Truce. I was joking." Gloria folded her arms, glaring at him with the intensity of a drill sergeant. You better hope you're faster at work than you are at running from me. Adam peeked over the cushion and grinned nervously. Noted, boss. Few minutes later. Surviving a gunshot to the head is a miracle. Honestly, I'm surprised the hospital let you leave so easily without running a million tests, Gloria said, handing her empty plate to Anita, who was gathering the dishes. They ran the usual tests, Adam replied, taking the plates from Anita before she could head to the sink. I'll handle this, he said, giving her a small smile. And Nurse Jane gave me the all-clear before I left. Jane, huh? Gloria repeated, her expression shifting slightly like the name sparked something in her memory. All right, if you say so. Elsewhere. You're telling me he's not awakened? An elderly man in his late 70s leaned back in his chair, his weathered hands gripping the arms of it as he spoke to Jane, who stood in front of him. Baldur, her grandfather and the patriarch of the Galveston clan, was a frail-looking man with deep wrinkles etched into his pale skin. His silver hair, sparse on top but long at the sides, framed his sharp yet tired features. Despite his age, his piercing blue eyes still carried a spark of authority and wisdom. That's right, Gramps, Jane replied calmly. He's just a regular human. The only unusual thing is his regeneration. It's faster than normal, but that's likely because of who his mother is. Baldur sighed, rubbing his temple with a gnarled hand. You're telling me he has higher regeneration than most humans, and you still call him ordinary? He chuckled dryly, glancing up at the ceiling as if looking for patience. Jane, that alone means he's awakened. No regular human heals like that, or he's not entirely human. Chapter 4, Radiant Apex Fruit. Time to figure out how this ability really works, Adam muttered, lying on his bed, staring at the glowing system panel hovering in front of him. My stats are way too low. I need to figure out a way to boost them. Maybe I could start exercising. Or better yet, he said with a growing grin, why not create something? Like those pills or magical fruits you see in fantasy and cultivation novels. Excited by the idea, Adam grabbed his phone and opened his favorite web novel app. He scrolled through one of his favorite cultivation novels, scanning the pages for inspiration, special pills, spirit fruits, elixirs, anything that could give him ideas. Got it, Adam said after a few minutes of scrolling. I'll make a fruit that boosts my stats, physique, soul, and mental, to the peak of human potential. He closed his eyes and focused, imagining the fruit in vivid detail. He pictured an apple-shaped fruit, shimmering with swirling colors like a rainbow, pulsating with a faint aura of power. Slowly, in the palm of his hand, the fruit began to take form. After a few minutes, the fruit was fully materialized. A multicolored, glowing apple that radiated a strange, otherworldly energy. Adam sat up, marveling at its beauty. Not bad, he muttered, admiring his creation. Curious, he opened his system to check the fruit's details. Radiant Apex Fruit. Type, Special Creation. Effects. Increases physique stat to the limit of humanity. Increases mental stat to the limit of humanity. Increases soul stat to the limit of humanity. Grants temporary immunity to fatigue for 12 hours. Boosts healing speed by 300% for 24 hours. Whoa, Adam said, his eyes widening. This thing is insane. I've basically created a cheat code. He held the fruit up, inspecting it from every angle, before grinning to himself. This is going to be fun. Adam smirked, rolling the Radiant Apex Fruit in his hand one last time before standing up. He walked to his door, locked it, and leaned back against it. No interruptions, he muttered to himself. With a deep breath, he sat back on his bed, staring at the glowing fruit. All right, let's see if this thing works. Without hesitation, he bit into the fruit. The moment he swallowed, a searing pain shot through his body. His eyes widened in shock as his entire frame tensed. It felt like his veins were on fire, and every nerve in his body was screaming. Arg! Adam let out a gut-wrenching scream, clutching his chest as waves of energy surged through him. The air around him began to shift, and a faint, radiant aura started to seep out of his body, spreading into the room like mist. Outside, the world wasn't left untouched. Trees swayed as if caught in a sudden gust of wind. Birds scattered from the rooftops, and the night sky seemed to shimmer unnaturally, stars flickering brighter as if reacting to the disturbance. Inside, Adam was writhing in pain. The aura around him intensified, glowing brighter and brighter. His body felt like it was breaking apart and rebuilding itself at the same time.
Adam?
Alfred's voice called out from the other side of the door, followed by rapid knocks.
Adam?
Are you okay? Aria's panicked voice joined her brother's as both siblings pounded on the door. Adam clenched his fists, his body shaking as he fought to stay conscious. Stay back, he managed to choke out through gritted teeth.
Adam?
Open the door, Alfred shouted, rattling the locked handle. Please, what's happening? Aria's voice cracked with fear, but Adam didn't respond. He couldn't. His body was locked in place as the energy tore through him. His aura spilled out even more, causing the lights in the house to flicker. Outside, the wind picked up, and a faint, multicolored glow could be seen radiating from the cracks of Adam's bedroom window. The pain reached its peak, and Adam threw his head back, letting out another scream as the energy surged to its climax. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Adam fell back onto his bed, drenched in sweat, breathing heavily as the aura around him slowly faded. His body felt different, stronger, powerful.
Adam?
Alfred called again, his voice desperate. I'm fine, Adam finally said, his voice hoarse but firm. Just give me a minute. His siblings hesitated but eventually backed away, still worried but giving him the space he needed. Lying there, Adam stared at the ceiling, feeling the newfound strength coursing through him. What the hell did I just unlock? He muttered to himself. Adam got up, his body still feeling strange but somehow stronger. He unlocked the door, letting his siblings in to show them he was fine. As soon as the door opened, both Alfred and Aria's faces twisted in disgust. What is that smell? Alfred gagged, covering his nose. Seriously, Adam, did you roll in a dumpster? Aria added, backing away. And what's that black stuff all over you? Adam frowned and looked down at himself. His clothes and skin were covered in a slimy, black residue, and the stench was unbearable. Ugh! He groaned, scratching the back of his head. I was working on something. Working on what? Bathing in a sewer? Alfred shot back, his voice muffled through his hand. All right, Adam sighed, waving them off. You've seen that I'm fine. Now why don't you two 8-year-olds head back to your rooms? He smirked. Both siblings pouted at his jab but couldn't argue. The smell was too much. They turned and walked off, grumbling to themselves. Don't stink up the house, Adam, Aria called as she slammed her door shut. Once alone again, Adam shut his door inside. Guess this is what those novels call impurities being expelled. Great. He shook his head, grabbed a towel, and wiped off the worst of the grime before opening his system. Stats updated. Name, Adam Dark. Bloodline, unknown. Race, human.
Existence tiers, Unawa Kent. Physique, 20.
Mental 20. Soul 20. Abilities, creation of all things LVL 1. Regeneration, LVL 2. Adam's eyes widened as he read the changes. Physique, 20 superhuman strength, speed, and durability. He could now lift several tons effortlessly, run faster than a car, and withstand impacts that would have broken his bones before. Mental, 20 sharpened reflexes and enhanced cognitive abilities. His mind felt clearer, quicker. He could process things in seconds that would have taken minutes. Soul, 20 strengthened spiritual presence and resistance to supernatural forces. It felt like a protective barrier surrounded his very being. Whoa! Adam whispered, flexing his hands. His body felt light, powerful, and alive in ways he couldn't describe. "This is insane," he muttered, a grin forming on his face. "And this is just the start." He stood there for a moment, basking in the newfound strength surging through his body. Then he glanced at the black grime still clinging to him. "Right. First things first. A shower," Adam said, already heading for the bathroom. He didn't want to explain why the house suddenly smelled like death. Chapter 5. X-Rank Superhuman. The sudden spike in paranormal energy was detected in this area, a blonde woman said, pointing at a specific region on a large map displayed on the screen in front of the country's top-ranking officials. "That's still not good enough," a man in a military uniform said, his voice sharp. The emblems on his chest marked him as one of the highest-ranking officers in the room. "You're giving us a general location. There are about 50,000 people living there. Could be anyone. This information is useless." The blonde woman, Sarah, took a deep breath to steady herself. "I understand, sir. But this is the best we could do with the limited time we had. If you give us a bit more time, I'm confident we can pinpoint the exact location of the awakened individual." Her confidence was quickly shattered when an elderly woman, who had been silent until now, raised her head. The air in the room instantly shifted. "Time is a luxury we don't have," the woman said, her voice calm but firm, silencing the entire room. "We're talking about an X-rank superhuman. That's an anomaly, something rare and incredibly dangerous. If we've noticed it, so have the other families. And the rebels," she added, her tone colder now. "If those rebels get their hands on an X-rank, it could tip the balance in their favor. That's not something I'll allow." The woman was Evelyn, the president of the country. She wasn't just a political leader, she was one of the few world-ranked superhumans on the planet. Her presence alone commanded respect, and no one in the room dared to interrupt her. "I'll authorize whatever resources you need to find this individual immediately," Evelyn continued, standing up. "I want their identity on my desk first thing in the morning, and send scouts to the area now. An X-rank awakened has the potential to become a planetary-level superhuman. We cannot take that risk." Without another word, Evelyn turned and walked out of the room, her security detail trailing behind her. They were more for show than necessity. Everyone knew Evelyn didn't need protection. "Yes, Madam President," Sarah said, bowing along with everyone else in the room. Once Evelyn was gone, Sarah straightened and glanced back at the map, determination written all over her face. As the room settled back into a tense quiet, Sarah stayed focused on the map, her mind racing. The situation was far more complicated than just tracking down one person. There were too many players in the game. The governments weren't the only ones watching for paranormal activity. There were powerful families, old bloodlines that had wielded influence for generations. Each had their own motives and their own agendas. The Galveston family. Known for their mastery over elemental abilities, the Galvestons were a dominant force. They controlled vast resources and were often at the forefront of any supernatural-related crisis. Patriarch Baldur Galveston was feared and respected, not just for his power but also for his cunning. If there was an X-rank superhuman, the Galvestons would be one of the first to make a move. The Dark family. The Darks were shrouded in mystery, and their influence stretched far beyond what most could see. Rumors swirled about their ties to ancient, forbidden practices. The Darks' lineage, though dormant for generations, was now in the spotlight. The family's unpredictable nature made them both a wild card and a potential threat. The Silvermane Consortium. A family-run corporation, the Silvermans were as much business magnates as they were superhuman strategists. They specialized in using technology to enhance their abilities, blending science and power. It was said that their matriarch, Victoria Silvermane, could manipulate time itself. The Ashbourne Order. An old aristocratic family, the Ashbournes were known for their psychic abilities and their obsession with control. They believed in maintaining order at all costs, even if it meant bending or breaking the rules. Lucian Ashbourne, their leader, had a reputation for eliminating threats before anyone else even saw them coming. The Black Veil Syndicate. The Black Veil were an underground family, operating in the shadows. They dealt in illegal activities but had a strict code of honor among their own. Their leader, Selene Blackveil, was said to have the ability to manipulate darkness itself, making her nearly impossible to catch or confront. The Viridian Circle. Unlike the other families, the Viridian Circle was less about bloodlines and more about ideology. They were a group of awakened individuals who believed in preserving the balance of power in the world. They acted as enforcers, ensuring no one family or government became too dominant. Their leader, Kael Viridian, was a charismatic figure who inspired loyalty in his followers. The Rebels. Then there were the Rebels, a loose, chaotic group with no clear structure but a singular purpose: to tear down the existing system. They hated the families and distrusted the governments, viewing both as corrupt and oppressive. Their leader, known only as Wraith, remained a mystery. It was said Wraith was a former X-rank superhuman who turned against the establishment after a betrayal. Sarah leaned back and sighed. Each of these groups was already moving, even if they hadn't shown their hand yet. She glanced at the screen, realizing just how high the stakes were. If the government didn't act fast, one of these groups would get to the awakened individual first, and the fallout could be catastrophic. While the world scrambled, plotting and scheming to track him down, Adam casually stepped out of the shower, towel slung over his shoulder as he dried himself off. He caught his reflection in the mirror and smirked. "Damn," he said, striking a mock pose. "I look like a freaking supermodel." "No, scratch that. I'm better than that." Completely unaware of the chaos he was causing, Adam tossed the towel aside and stretched. "All right, bedtime. Tomorrow's a new day. I'll mess around with my abilities then." With that, he flopped onto his bed, letting out a satisfied sigh. The world could wait. Right now, sleep was the priority. Chapter 6. Mark Blackveil. The next morning, Adam was up early, getting himself ready for work and making sure his siblings were set for school. As he finished buttoning his shirt, Alfred squinted at him. "Is it just me? Or are you actually glowing today?" Arya nodded, crossing her arms. "I thought I was seeing things too." "Spill it, big bro. What's your secret?" Adam smirked, checking himself out in the mirror. "I know, right? I could probably be a movie star if I wanted." The twins rolled their eyes in sync. "All right, don't get ahead of yourself," Arya said. "We're just stating facts. But that doesn't mean you're the most handsome guy in the world." And, Alfred added, "just because you look good doesn't mean life's gonna hand you everything. You still gotta work hard, you know?" Adam's eye twitched. "Who do you little punks think you're lecturing? I'm your older brother. I should be the one giving out advice." Before they could argue, he chased them out of the house, all three of them laughing as they ran. Adam walked his siblings to school for the first time in a while. "All right, brats, we're here. Remember, stay out of trouble. But if someone comes looking for trouble, we give them hell." The twins finished in unison, fist bumping before turning to leave. Adam shook his head, but just as he was about to walk away, he frowned, sensing something. Without thinking, he turned back and caught a baseball flying straight at Alfred's head. His gaze shifted to his brother, silently asking, "What kind of mess are you in?" As if on cue, a group of high schoolers approached, one of them holding a bat over his shoulder with a smug grin. "Hey, Alfred, brought your big bro to fight your battles?" The leader, who looked about 16, taunted. Adam's frown deepened. He glanced at Alfred, then at Arya. "So, you're being bullied, and neither of you thought to tell me?" His voice was calm, but his aura shifted, darkening the air around them. Alfred scratched the back of his head. "It's nothing, just some stupid school drama." "I wanted to tell you," Arya chimed in, "but Alfred said we shouldn't because of his background." Alfred glared at her and mouthed, "If something happens to Adam, it's your fault." Adam sighed, rubbing his temples before turning to the boy leading the group. His gaze was sharp and filled with warning. "Who do you think you are, putting your hands on my brother?" The boy's lackey snickered. "You have no idea who you're messing with. If you knew his name, you'd probably piss yourself," another added. Adam's eyes darkened. His aura seeped out, and in an instant, the boys flinched, their confidence shaken. I'll ask again. Who the hell are you? The leader stiffened but tried to keep his cool. I'm Mark Blackvale, and if you know what's good for you, you'll drop whatever stupid idea is running through your head. Adam looked at him for a moment, then chuckled. I don't know if your name means anything to me, but it doesn't. And even if it did, a big crime family or something, I wouldn't care. His voice dropped, his tone sharp. You threw a damn baseball at my brother. You put your hands on him. That's something I won't let slide. He stepped forward, stopping right in front of Mark and bending slightly to meet his eyes. I don't hit kids, Adam said, his voice eerily calm. But if I hear you so much as look at my siblings the wrong way again, I'll make sure you regret ever being born. Mark visibly trembled. Then, much to Adam's amusement, a strong stench hit the air. Adam smirked, patting Mark's head. Guess you did piss yourself. Consider this your final warning. With that, he turned to his siblings. Next time, let me know when something like this happens, he said before leading them inside. That bastard. Who the hell does he think he is? Mark muttered, his fists clenching so tight his knuckles turned white. His whole body trembled with rage as he slowly lifted his head, glaring at Adam's back with pure hatred. I'll kill him with my own hands, he roared, his frustration spilling into the air. Meanwhile, in front of her restaurant, Gloria stood with her arms crossed, tapping her foot impatiently. Her eyes flicked between the clock on the wall and the watch on her wrist, irritation clear on her face. Late again, she grumbled. That idiot barely got out of the hospital, and he's already back to this nonsense. I thought he'd change, but nope, same old Adam. She wouldn't have been this strict, but Adam insisted on coming to work the very next day after getting discharged. She had told him to take it easy, to rest for a while, but of course he refused. So she gave him a simple rule. Be on time or don't bother showing up for the rest of the week. And yet, here they were. Maybe he got caught in traffic, or maybe his injuries started acting up again, Becca said as she walked up beside Gloria. Gloria shot her a look, one brow raised. His injuries? Please, there wasn't even a scar on him. If anything, he got caught up in something. Again. But that still doesn't give him an excuse to be late. Becca sighed, knowing better than to argue. Guess I'll get back to work before you bite my head off. Gloria just huffed, still waiting for Adam to show his face. Not long after, Adam came running down the street. The moment he spotted Gloria standing outside the restaurant, arms crossed and waiting for him, he knew he was screwed. He forced a sheepish smile, already thinking of an excuse. I'm sorry, I got caught up with traffic? Missed the bus? Some other nonsense. Gloria cut him off with a frown. You know the rule. You're late, so go home. Come back next week. She turned on her heel and walked back toward the restaurant. Adam sighed, then reached out to stop her by grabbing her hand, something he immediately regretted when she turned and shot him a deadly glare. He let go so fast it was like he'd touched fire. I was late because my little brother was getting bullied, he finally explained. Some kid named Mark Blackvale or whatever. I had to deal with it and make sure my siblings were safe. Inside the restaurant, the sound of shattering glass echoed through the room. Everyone turned toward Anita, who stood frozen, a broken plate at her feet. Her eyes were locked on Adam, her expression unreadable. Then she snapped. What the hell were you thinking? She yelled. Chapter 7. Seeker's Fruit. What the hell were you thinking? Gloria yelled as she rushed inside and saw the mess Anita had made. I'm sorry. It slipped, Anita mumbled, her voice shaky as she crouched down to pick up the broken pieces. Gloria sighed, rubbing her temples before putting a hand on her waist. You guys are going to be the death of me, she muttered before walking off to the kitchen. Adam crouched beside Anita, offering to help. You say it slipped, but I think it happened when I mentioned that brat's name, Mark Blackvale, right? His tone was calm but serious. The second she heard the name again, Anita's eyes widened in panic. Without saying a word, She bolted to the bathroom, leaving Adam watching her retreating figure with a sigh. She definitely knows something, he muttered. And if she reacted that strongly, then the Black Veil name really does mean something. Damn, I might have just made things worse for my siblings. With that thought, he got up and walked over to Becca. I'm taking the rest of the day off. Something important came up. Tell the Ice Queen for me, will you? Before Becca could even respond, he was already out the door. He didn't even wait for my reply, she sighed, resting a hand on the nearest table. At that moment, Anita stepped out of the bathroom, except she was completely different. Gone was the timid, shy girl from earlier. Her presence was sharp, commanding. She turned to Becca. Where did he go? Her voice was firm, leaving no room for hesitation. Becca straightened up immediately, sensing the shift. He left to handle something urgent, young miss, she said, head slightly bowed. Anita exhaled sharply. I know where he's going. That idiot never learns. If that brat gets him hurt, I'll skin him alive. And just like that, she dissolved into a shadow and disappeared. Becca groaned, rubbing her temples like she was nursing an oncoming headache. And, as if the day couldn't get any worse, now was the time the Ice Queen decided to show up. Where's Adam? He should be in the kitchen helping me right now, Gloria said, storming out. Becca sighed, already exhausted. He left, said it was urgent. Okay, Gloria replied, turning back toward the kitchen. But she stopped when she noticed the broken plate still on the floor. Her eyes narrowed. And where's Anita? Becca held back another sigh. She said she wasn't feeling well and went home. Gloria arched a brow, clearly suspicious, but after a moment, she let it go. Fine. Get someone to clean this up, she ordered before heading back inside. As soon as she was gone, Becca let out a deep sigh, massaging her temples. When will this nonsense end, so I can just go back to the Black Veil estate? Meanwhile, Adam arrived at the school in a hurry and ran straight to his siblings' classroom. But when he got there, he didn't see them. Where are my siblings? He asked their homeroom teacher, who was standing at the front of the class. The teacher, a young man in his early 20s, had short brown hair, tired-looking blue eyes, and a lanky build. His face always seemed a little pale, like he barely got any sleep. He glanced at the empty seats where Alfred and Arya usually sat and frowned. They were just here, he muttered before turning to the rest of the class. Does anyone know where Alfred and Arya went? The students exchanged confused looks, all of them shaking their heads. Adam's face darkened as anger crept in. He stepped into the classroom and walked right up to the teacher, standing face to face with him. What kind of teacher doesn't even notice when two of his students go missing? Adam asked, his voice calm but filled with fury. I swear they were just here, the teacher stammered, looking increasingly panicked. One moment they were in class and then they weren't. I don't understand what happened. Adam clenched his jaw, his mind racing. Something was definitely off. Where's Mark's class? He asked, deciding to find his siblings first. He could deal with this idiot later. Who's Mark? The teacher asked, looking genuinely confused. Adam stared at him in disbelief. You're completely useless, aren't you? Without another word, he reached for the teacher's desk and crushed it effortlessly with his bare hand. The sound of wood splintering echoed through the room, making the teacher's eyes widen in shock and fear. You're the most useless excuse for a human being I've ever met, Adam said coldly. And that's coming from someone who's spent his life surrounded by idiots. With that, he stormed out, slamming the door so hard it shattered on impact. Oh my God! What kind of freak is he? Thomas muttered, staring at his shattered desk and the broken door. Meanwhile, Adam was wandering around the school, trying to find someone who could tell him where Mark was. But every time he asked, people either avoided eye contact or quickly walked away. It was as if Mark was some untouchable figure no one dared to speak against. What kind of damn family does that bastard come from to have this much influence in a school? Adam muttered, getting frustrated. He was running out of patience, but he couldn't afford to give up. His siblings were in danger. Then suddenly, it hit him. "Wait a minute. I have a system," he said, smacking his forehead. "And I can create anything I imagine. How stupid can I be?" Shaking his head at himself, he quickly moved to a quiet corner of the hallway. He needed something to help him track his siblings. An item could work, but there was a risk of losing it. An ability, on the other hand, would stay with him permanently. "Yeah, an ability is the way to go," he mumbled. He closed his eyes and imagined a fruit that would grant him the power to locate people. A second later, something materialized in his hands. "You have created the Seeker's Fruit." Adam looked at the fruit. It was deep blue with glowing silver veins running across its surface. It had a faint, pulsating glow, almost as if it were alive. Seeker's Fruit. Type: consumable. Effect: grants the user the Seeker's sensibility, allowing them to track and locate any target within a certain range. The ability improves with the user's strength.
Duration, permanent.
Side effects: none. "This should do the trick," Adam said with a grin. Without hesitation, he took a big bite. The fruit had a surprisingly sweet and tangy taste, and before he knew it, he had devoured the whole thing. "You have unlocked a new ability. Seeker's Sense." Seeker's Sense. Description: allows the user to sense and track any living being within a certain range. The more familiar the user is with the target, the stronger and more precise the tracking becomes. Current range: 5 kilometers. Upgrades: range and accuracy will improve as the user gets stronger. Almost instantly, Adam felt something change inside him. It was like an extra sense had awakened. He could suddenly feel the presence of different people around the school, their locations appearing in his mind like glowing dots on a map.
Alright, Adam Simirket.
Let's find my siblings. Chapter 8. The Awakening 1. Death of Arya. Ha 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 ha. Mark's laughter echoed through the air as he looked at his captives. Alfred and Arya. The twins were tied up and hanging like laundry on a line. "So, where's that brother of yours, huh?" Mark sneered, tilting his head. "I thought he'd show up the second you two were in trouble. Come in, kick my ass, and save the day. Or was all that just talk? All bark, no bite." His lackeys burst out laughing, feeding off his arrogance. A middle-aged man stood off to the side, watching in silence. He sighed when he saw the twins, a flicker of pity in his eyes. But he did nothing. He wasn't here for them. His job was to watch over Mark. That was it. Mark grabbed a thick baton and brought it close to Alfred's face. "Go on, scream. Call for your brother. Let's see if he comes running. That way, I can kill him myself for humiliating me this morning." His grin stretched wider, eyes gleaming with cruelty. Alfred glared at him with pure hatred before spitting in his face. "Go to hell. And just so you know, if anything happens to us, my brother will make sure you regret the day you were born." Mark wiped his face, then chuckled. "You still don't get it, do you?" He shook his head mockingly. "You normies will never understand the world of the supernatural." Dark shadows began gathering around him, twisting and curling like living things. "I'm a superhuman. Not the strongest, sure, but strong enough to deal with some regular nobody like you." He smirked, then gestured toward the middle-aged man standing quietly in the corner. "And if, by some miracle, your brother does manage to give me trouble, well, that's where he comes in." Alfred and Arya's eyes widened in shock. They thought they were dealing with some rich lunatic, but this was something else entirely. Mark's grin turned darker. "Now you know you're not getting out of this alive. Neither is your brother." Arya clenched her teeth, her whole body shaking with rage. Then, out of nowhere, she lunged at Mark, the chains binding her straining against her sudden burst of strength. But Mark was faster. With barely a thought, the shadows around him moved like vipers, striking with unnatural speed. A sharp, black tendril impaled Arya. "No!" Alfred's scream tore through the surroundings as he watched his sister go limp, blood dripping onto the ground. Mark barely reacted, tilting his head as if mildly curious. But the middle-aged man? His calm expression finally cracked.
Brat.
Do you have any idea what you've just done? The middle-aged man stared at Arya's lifeless body, his expression dark. There was an unspoken rule in the world of superhumans: you don't harm normies. Ever. It was a line no one crossed. And now, this brat had just stomped right over it because of some petty grudge. He sighed. Kids these days. Walking over to Mark, he placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Young master, you need to leave. Now, the Viridian will be here soon. I'll handle them, but you can't be here when they arrive. Mark turned to him, his face pale. The reality of what he had just done was sinking in fast. He nodded. All right, Mr. Garrick. His lackeys, who had been laughing minutes ago, were just as shaken. None of them had expected things to go this far. Turns out, all that talk about killing someone was just that. Talk. Mark didn't actually have the guts for it. Without another word, they turned to run, rushing toward the exit of the abandoned factory. But before they could take another step, the air changed. The temperature shot up, the room suddenly hot and suffocating. The walls seemed to close in, the air thick with something unnatural. A voice cut through the tension. Hey, who said you could leave? Everyone froze. Slowly they turned to look. Standing there, right where he had been chained up, was Alfred. Or at least something that looked like him. His former short hair has become a long hair with wreathed in flames. His eyes burning like molten fire. The chains that had once held him were now dripping, melted into useless slag. His entire presence felt different, like he wasn't the same person anymore. Alfred, if that was even him anymore, took a step forward, fire flickering around his hands. None of you are leaving here alive.
Impossible.
You're the X-rank superhuman everyone's been talking about. Garrick's eyes widened as he stared at Alfred. The one with the potential to reach planetary level.
Alfred frowned.
Old man, stay out of this. This is between me and him. He jabbed a finger at Mark. Mark, who had been cowering moments ago, suddenly found his voice again. You bastard. So you're not a normie? Why the hell didn't you say so from the start? And what makes you think you can challenge me just because you've got some powers? Before Alfred could respond, Garrick sighed and stepped forward, rolling his shoulders. I'm afraid I can't let that happen. You see, he's my responsibility. I don't agree with his ways, but my duty is to protect him. If you want him, you'll have to go through me. Alfred clicked his tongue. This guy was serious. Still, the fire in his veins made him feel unstoppable. He glanced down at his own hands, feeling the raw energy pulsing through him. Fine by me. In a burst of speed, he shot toward Mark, fully intending to take him out in one strike. But before he could even get close, bam! Garrick was already there. The old man moved like a ghost, appearing in front of Alfred in an instant and throwing a devastating punch straight at his chest. Alfred barely managed to twist his body at the last second, the fist grazing his ribs instead of crushing them outright. Even then, the impact sent a sharp pain through his side. Damn, he's fast. Alfred landed a few steps away, his mind racing. All right, think. He's stronger, faster, more experienced. If I try to match him in a straight-up fight, I lose. No question. He exhaled, eyes scanning Garrick's stance. But no one is invincible. Everyone has a pattern, a weakness. I just have to find it. Garrick cracked his knuckles. Not bad. You dodged that. But let's see how long you can keep up. In a blink, he was in front of Alfred again, throwing another punch. This time, Alfred barely ducked under it, feeling the rush of air as the fist missed his head by inches. He's testing me. Not going all out yet. He doesn't see me as a real threat. That's good. I can use that. Alfred dashed back, pretending to be on the defensive. He needed time to observe, to learn his movements. Garrick smirked. What? Running already? Alfred ignored the taunt, keeping his eyes locked on him. Fast. Precise. He doesn't waste movement. If I try to trade blows, I lose. But if I can force him to make a mistake. He noticed something. Every time Garrick moved in, he led with his left foot first. It was subtle, but it meant his weight shifted slightly before every attack. A plan formed in Alfred's head. "All right, old man. Let's see how you handle this." He acted like he was tiring out, staggering slightly as he dodged another attack. Garrick took the bait, pressing forward. The moment the old man stepped in, Alfred shifted his weight and faked a stumble. Garrick lunged, thinking Alfred had finally slipped up. That was exactly what Alfred wanted. At the last second, he twisted his body and redirected Garrick's momentum, stepping aside just as the older man's own force carried him forward. It worked. Garrick's eyes widened as he overextended, just a fraction of a second off balance. That fraction was all Alfred needed. With all the power he could muster, Alfred drove his flaming fist right into Garrick's exposed ribs. Boom! The impact sent the old man flying backward, crashing into a stack of crates. Alfred exhaled, shaking out his fist. "Got you." Garrick groaned as he pushed himself up, holding his side. He looked at Alfred, and for the first time he smiled. Clever kid. Chapter 9. The Awakening 2, Fire and Ice. Beep, 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 beep. The alarms echoed through the cortex, filling the room with urgency. "What do we have?" Sarah asked, moving quickly between monitors, her fingers flying across the keyboards as she tried to pinpoint the source of the energy spike. On the large screen in front of her, a map flickered to life, zooming in and scanning rapidly for the location. "Looks like a new awakener, Miss Sarah." Charles, a young man seated at one of the consoles, replied while typing furiously. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "What makes you say that?" "The energy spikes are different," Charles explained, his tone steady but serious. "The first one was way stronger. That one felt like the awakening of a god. This one, while powerful, doesn't even come close." Sarah frowned. Charles was the best sensory superhuman they had. If he said there was a difference, she believed him. "So that means the first awakener is still out there," she muttered. "And the president made it clear, they're the top priority." She took a deep breath, glancing around the cortex. The place had been upgraded recently, filled with the best tech available. They needed it now more than ever. "You focus on tracking this new awakener, Charles," she said firmly. "I'll take over the search for the first one." Charles nodded but suddenly frowned at the screen. "Actually, we've already located the second awakener. But there's something else. Looks like a third one is about to awaken." He pointed at the map, where a glowing red aura was concentrated in one area. Just beside it, a faint but growing icy blue aura flickered to life, indicating another human stepping into the supernatural world. Sarah's stomach tightened. 3 X-rank awakeners in just 2 days? That wasn't just unusual, it was dangerous. "Send the coordinates to the scout teams immediately," she ordered. "Now that we've found the second and third awakeners, resume the search for the first. I need to speak with the president about this." Charles nodded and got back to work while Sarah turned and rushed out of the cortex, heading straight for the presidential residence. Outside the factory, Adam stood before the massive, run-down factory, his fists clenched tight. "They should be here," he muttered, his voice tense. That energy wave came from this area, which meant only one thing. His siblings were in more danger than he had thought. His teeth gnashed together as his eyes burned red with fury and fear. Without another thought, he vanished in a blur, racing toward the factory. Inside the factory, Garrick let out a low whistle, watching Alfred with something close to admiration. Clever kid. It was almost a shame. If things were different, the boy might have had a real future. But orders were orders. Garrick sighed. "I'm sorry, kid, but you have to die." In an instant, he moved, his speed far beyond anything Alfred could match. The moment he got close, though, he stopped. Not because he wanted to, because he couldn't move. A chilling numbness crept over him, and when he looked down, his eyes went wide. From the waist down, he was completely frozen in solid ice. "What? How?" Alfred had flinched, expecting to take a hit, but when nothing came, he slowly opened his eyes. He blinked in surprise. Garrick wasn't moving. He was trapped. Mark and his lackeys stared in horror. If even Garrick was caught like this, then the air suddenly shifted again. The burning heat that had been suffocating moments ago was now fading. In its place came an eerie, biting cold. And then,
Oi.
the voice rang out, firm and sharp, cutting through the silence. Get the hell away from my little brother. Everyone turned toward the source. And there she was. Arya stood tall, her body illuminated by a soft, glacial glow. The injuries from before, the ones that should have killed her, were gone. Her wounds had completely vanished, as if they had never existed. Her appearance had changed too. Her once dark hair was now pure white, cascading down her back, strands flickering like frost in the air. Her eyes, once warm and familiar, now gleamed an icy blue, cold and piercing like the heart of a blizzard. She stood like a goddess of winter itself, frost swirling at her feet, snowflakes dancing around her like embers in reverse.
Alfred's breath hitched.
She's alive? A mix of emotions hit him all at once. Shock, relief, and something close to awe. But then she called him her little brother, and he frowned. Since when am I? He stopped himself, shaking his head. That wasn't important right now. Instead, he looked at Garrick, still frozen in place, and smirked. Flames gathered around his fist, crackling as they condensed into a searing molten glow. Looks like your luck just ran out, old man. With a swift, explosive motion, Alfred swung, his flaming fist smashing into Garrick's face. The force sent him flying across the factory, crashing into the far wall with a deafening boom. Garrick slumped to the ground, unconscious. Silence filled the room. Mark and his lackeys stood frozen in fear. Alfred exhaled, shaking out his hand before turning to his sister, still processing everything. All right, that was kinda cool. Kinda cool can wait. What do we do with that guy and his lackeys? Arya asked, pointing at Mark, who was visibly shaking in fear. Alfred cracked his knuckles, a wicked smirk spreading across his face. I say we beat him to a pulp. Arya tilted her head, eyes glinting with amusement as she slowly walked toward Mark. What's with the shaking? Aren't you supposed to be stronger than both of us combined? Or are you just a scaredy cat? Mark stumbled back, panic flashing across his face. Don't come any closer. His voice wavered as he tried to keep his composure. If you so much as touch a single hair on my head, the full forces of the Blackvale family will hunt you down and erase you from existence. A deep, masculine voice cut through the tense air. Then what about I break your bones? Everyone froze. Mark's eyes darted toward the entrance just as Adam stepped through the door. His expression was a mix of relief and rage. Relieved that his siblings were safe, furious that Mark had put them in danger in the first place. His presence alone made the room feel smaller, his sharp gaze locking onto Mark like a predator eyeing its prey. Mark swallowed hard. That, I can't allow. Chapter 10. Viridian Jurisdiction. That, I can't allow. Adam's head snapped toward the voice. Up on the rooftop, bathed in silver moonlight, stood a figure cloaked in black. A hood covered their face, and swirling shadows curled around them like living tendrils. Against the night sky, the presence felt almost otherworldly, like something out of legend had descended upon them. Adam frowned, eyes narrowing. And who the hell are you? Before the stranger could answer, Mark, who had been trembling moments ago, practically jumped with joy. That's my sister, the strongest of her generation, Ani. He didn't even finish his sentence before a shadow wrapped around his mouth, silencing him. A soft, mocking chuckle echoed through the air as the hooded figure finally spoke. Who gave you permission to speak, brat? The voice was cold, almost bored, yet laced with sharpness. All you ever do is cause trouble, and then we have to clean up your messes. What's even worse, you let 2 8-year-olds scare you to your core. You're a disgrace to the Blackvale name. Without hesitation, the figure leaped from the rooftop. The way they moved was effortless, almost like gravity didn't apply to them. Shadows wrapped around their body, shifting and dissolving in the moonlight as they landed gracefully on the ground. As the glow of the moon outlined their form, they turned to Mark, eyes hidden beneath the hood. "But for Mother's sake, I'll save your ass just this once. Now take your lackeys and get lost." Adam's expression darkened as he took a step forward. "So you're siblings." His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with anger. "That doesn't change the fact that your brother tried to hurt mine. He's not walking away that easily." The hooded girl let out a sigh, as if this was all just an inconvenience to her. Her gaze flickered from the Fire and Ice twins to Adam, then back to her brother. "I get where you're coming from, really I do." Her tone wasn't mocking anymore, just matter of fact. "But I can't let you touch him. The full force of my family would crush you if you did. My advice? Let this go. If, by some miracle, you ever get strong enough to shake the world to its core, then you can come for revenge. Until then." Her body dissolved into a swirling mass of shadows. In an instant, the dark fog swept around Mark and his lackeys, swallowing them whole. Rest. And just like that, they were gone. Adam lunged forward, but it was useless. He grabbed at nothing but air. His fists clenched, his body shaking with frustration. Then, with a roar, he slammed his fist into the ground, the sheer force sending cracks tearing through the concrete before an explosion of debris sent dust flying into the air. A massive crater formed beneath him. "That bastard! And that bitch!" His voice was low, filled with seething rage. His crimson eyes gleamed under the moonlight. "You said I need to get stronger? Fine, I will. And when I do," he gritted his teeth, voice laced with venom, "I'll wipe the Blackvale family off the face of the earth with my own hands." His rage simmered as he turned back toward his siblings, finally taking in their exhausted but unharmed forms. The anger melted, replaced by overwhelming relief. "Thank God you two are okay." He rushed forward, arms outstretched to hug them, only to stop short as a wave of intense heat and cold radiated off their bodies. He blinked. You want to turn that off?" The twins exchanged a glance, then grinned cheekily. "We can't," they said in unison. Adam let out a dry chuckle. "Figures." With a bit of guidance and some trial and error, the twins finally learned to suppress their powers. As the fiery aura around Alfred dimmed and the icy chill around Arya faded, something new took its place. Red streaks now ran through the front of Alfred's dark hair, while white streaks colored areas.
Adam Simirket.
"Well, that's a new look." Then his expression turned serious. His enhanced hearing picked up the low hum of engines in the distance, several vehicles approaching fast. And even worse, he could already sense people moving through the factory. "We need to get out of here. Now." He grabbed both siblings, lifting them easily in his arms. A smirk tugged at his lips. "Hold on tight." With a single powerful leap, he soared into the air, clearing the 6-story factory building in an instant. The wind rushed past them, their bodies momentarily suspended under the night sky. Below them, the factory shrank away, the moon casting their silhouettes against the stars. Then boom, they landed on the rooftop with perfect precision, Adam barely breaking a sweat. He glanced back at the factory, eyes sharp. "We're just getting started." As soon as Adam disappeared over the rooftops, 2 figures stepped into the factory. A man and a woman, both in their early 30s. The woman scanned the area, her sharp eyes lingering on the roof. She could still feel the faint traces of energy in the air. "Looks like we just missed them," she sighed. The man, however, wasn't looking up. Instead, he pointed toward the ground. "Not all of them, Mira." She followed his gaze and spotted an unconscious man sprawled across the floor. Her expression darkened. "I know him. He's from the Blackvale family." Her lips pressed into a thin line. This just got a whole lot more complicated. As if on cue, a thunderous crash echoed through the factory. Several black armored vehicles barreled through the walls, smashing through concrete like it was paper. The sheer force of impact should have sent debris flying, but not a single scratch marked the vehicles. Not even a speck of dust clung to them. The air grew tense. Mira exhaled sharply. And now it gets worse. One of the vehicle doors swung open, and a man stepped out. He wore a black suit and dark sunglasses, his presence exuding authority and confidence. He took a quick look around, his frown deepening. You can leave now. This is Viridian jurisdiction. Chapter 11. Queen of Cryopyrokinesis. Bam! Adam landed smoothly in the front yard of their home, dropping his younger siblings onto the ground. That was awesome. We should do that again sometime, Alfred said, still hyped from the thrill of soaring through the air. Arya, however, was more focused. She crossed her arms and eyed Adam thoughtfully. So, you're awakened too. And based on what I saw, your power is related to physical enhancements, boosting your overall stats. Adam frowned, narrowing his eyes at her. You sound like you know a lot about this. I read, Arya replied flatly. I know you read, but that doesn't explain how you figured out my ability just by watching me use it. Adam pressed, clearly suspicious. Arya smirked. In my spare time, I read novels and comics. So yeah, I know how this stuff works. I also know I can control ice and Alfred can control fire.
Adam siket.
She had a point. Still, one thing was bugging him. When did you two get these powers? The twins exchanged confused glances, frowning as if trying to remember. I don't know, Alfred admitted. Mine kicked in when I saw Arya lying dead on the ground. The moment he said that, the air around them grew tense. The temperature dropped as Adam's expression darkened. His hands clenched into fists, his mind racing with rage. The thought of Arya dying, his little sister, made his blood boil. The Blackveil family was going to pay for this. Sensing his growing anger, Arya stepped forward and took his hands, her touch cool and steady. I'm okay now, she reassured him. Actually, my powers awakening brought me back to life. I don't know how, but here I am, alive, and even better than before. To prove her point, she flicked her wrist, and tiny ice particles danced in the air around her. Adam exhaled, letting the rage simmer down. At least she was safe now. All right, let's go inside. It's been a long and stressful day for all of us, Adam said with a smile on his face. With that, the Dark household went into their house after the stressful day. Abandoned factory. Mira stood with her arms crossed, staring straight at Thomas Smith, the Viridian enforcer. He was an S-rank superhuman, not the strongest in Viridian, but his SS-rank ability, intuitive aptitude, made him the best at what he did. He could understand the inner workings of anything, no matter how complex, making him an unmatched detective. But with that talent came unbearable arrogance. He looked down on everyone, and the worst part? He actually had the skills to back it up. Mira, however, hated his guts. I don't see where it says this is Viridian jurisdiction, she said coldly, arms still folded. Andre, the scout who had come with Mira, leaned in and whispered urgently, You shouldn't talk to a Viridian enforcer like that. He thought he was being discreet. He wasn't. Thomas smirked and pointed at a bloodstain on the ground, where shattered frozen chains were scattered. A human died here, he said, walking over to the spot and crouching down. He ran a gloved hand over the ice-covered metal. That makes it Viridian jurisdiction. Mira glanced at the frozen chains, then back at him. A smirk formed on her lips. If you actually look at the scene properly, she said, her voice sharp, you'll notice that the chains are frozen, meaning the victim wasn't just a normal human, but an awakened. She took a step forward. And since they just awakened and aren't actually dead, that puts them under my jurisdiction, as a government scout. She tilted her head. So maybe you should be the one to leave. For a second, there was silence. Then Thomas laughed. Loud, amused, almost impressed. You're good. I like you. He extended a hand toward Mira with a smirk. You'd make a fine enforcer. Why don't you come work under me at Viridian? I promise I'll treat you better than the government does. Andre lost it. Hey, how dare you try to poach a government officer in front of me? Have you no shame? Thomas's smirk faded. His head turned slightly toward Andre, slowly, like a predator acknowledging an insect. His aura shifted, no longer amused, but something darker. "Hey!" He dragged out the word, his tone chilling. "Who asked you to talk?" Andre's body tensed. Without thinking, he took a few steps back, immediately regretting ever opening his mouth to Thomas. Thomas wasn't just looking at him, he was bearing down on him, his presence suddenly suffocating. It wasn't a killing intent, nothing so dramatic. Just pure pressure, like standing too close to an apex predator that had decided you were annoying. "Hey, your fight is with me," Mira said, stepping in front of Andre and glaring at Thomas. Thomas's smirk widened the moment he got a clear look at her. Mira had sharp, piercing green eyes that seemed to see right through people. Her long, jet-black hair cascaded down her back, slightly tousled but effortlessly striking. Her face was a perfect mix of elegance and intensity. High cheekbones, full lips, and a sharp jawline that gave her an air of authority. She had a lean, athletic build, toned yet feminine, with a presence that demanded attention. "Now that's a face I'd love to wake up to every morning," Thomas said with a teasing grin. Myra's expression immediately twisted in disgust, her body tensing as if she were physically repulsed. "Ugh, you make me want to vomit." Thomas chuckled. "You really do hate me, huh?" he said unfazed. But then, just as quickly, his playful demeanor faded. His eyes sharpened, and his tone turned serious. "Well, I'm not here to win your heart. I'm here because this case is connected to that night, the night that opened my eyes to the superhuman world." Myra's brow furrowed as she tried to recall what he meant. Then suddenly it hit her. Her eyes widened. "You don't mean—" "Yeah," Thomas said, a small, almost nostalgic smile creeping onto his face. "The night of the dark incident. A night I'll never forget." Andre, still lost in the conversation, asked, "What exactly was the dark incident?" Not just him, many of the Viridian enforcers standing behind Thomas seemed just as confused. Mira crossed her arms and looked ahead with a proud expression. "The night the queen of cryopyrokinesis awakened. The X-rank superhuman who changed the very foundation of the superhuman world." "But—"
Andre hesitated.
"She disappeared 19 years ago. No one's seen her since." Chapter 12, Breaking Limits 1. "But—"
Andre hesitated.
"She disappeared 19 years ago. No one's seen her since." For the briefest moment, something flickered across Thomas's face. Something close to concern. It was gone in an instant, but Mira caught it. "You know something, don't you?" she asked, eyes narrowing. Thomas shook his head. "It's nothing." Without another word, he turned and walked away, heading deeper into the scene. Mira watched him go, her frown deepening. His sudden shift in demeanor, the way he dismissed her question so quickly. She knew him well enough to tell. He definitely knows something. But she let it go for now and returned to her own investigation. Meanwhile, Thomas crouched near the frozen chains, running his fingers over the shattered links. To the average investigator, it looked like nothing more than ice-covered metal. But to him, it was a puzzle waiting to be solved. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting his ability work. Intuitive aptitude wasn't just about knowledge, it was understanding. He didn't just see the pieces, he saw how they fit together. His mind raced as he analyzed the scene. The ice, not naturally formed, too precise, too controlled. This wasn't some basic cryokinesis, it was on another level. The chains, reinforced with an unknown alloy, supposed to be unbreakable. And yet, they weren't just broken. They were fractured at a molecular level. The blood splatter, small droplets, not a fatal wound. Whoever was injured, they weren't dying. More importantly, the blood wasn't frozen. That meant the ice user was either skilled enough to avoid it, or wasn't in full control of their power yet. Thomas smirked. Interesting. He stood up and turned, his eyes scanning the rest of the factory. His ability kicked in again, highlighting subtle details no one else noticed. The slight drag marks on the ground, the heat signature lingering in the air from fire-based abilities, and footprints. There were two distinct sets. One belonged to the unconscious man from the Black Veil family. The other was lighter, quicker, whoever it was had left in a hurry. Looks like someone had an awakening, Thomas muttered to himself. His mind was already piecing everything together, but one thing stuck out. The ice, the fire. It was too similar to the queen of cryopyrokinesis. Thomas sighed, rubbing his temples. Could it be her children? Alfred and Arya had abilities just like hers, while the older one, Adam, he frowned. Adam doesn't take after her at all. He resembles someone else entirely, the president's son, the so-called monster of the Federation. That was a problem, a big problem. Just as he was lost in thought, a voice snapped him out of it. "You look like you're overthinking again," Mira said, stepping up behind him. Thomas smirked. "What can I say? I'm always trying to figure out how to win your heart." Mira rolled her eyes. "You're insufferable." She ignored his grin and pulled out a sleek, high-tech device. With this, I confirmed there were 10 people here. 2 of them had energy signatures similar to the Black Veil matriarch, probably her kids. That guy over there, she nodded toward the unconscious Garrick, was also here. The rest? Unknown. But 2 of them are the fire and ice awakeners that showed up tonight. Thomas raised a brow as he got a better look at the device. That's the latest tech from the Silvermane family, the Spectra 9 scanner. Didn't think the president would hand something that advanced over to scouts. Mira shrugged. She had no choice. That X-rank awakener who shook the world yesterday. She's not taking any chances. We're under pressure to track them down. Fast. Thomas noted her serious tone but didn't dwell on it. Instead, his eyes drifted upward, locking onto the rooftop of the abandoned factory. His smirk returned. "Well, good luck with that," he said casually, turning on his heel and heading for his car. Mira frowned. "What? That's it. Oh, and you can keep the Black Veil prisoner," Thomas added as he opened his car door. "I have no use for him. Maybe he'll be more helpful to you." With that, he got in, started the engine, and drove off, his smirk never fading. "That bastard," Mira muttered, clenching her fist. Andre glanced at Garrick, still unconscious on the ground. "Did he just call that guy a prisoner?" "Yeah," Mira said, walking over and grabbing Garrick by the collar. "A crime happened here and he's the only one left standing, well, sort of. So, of course, he's a prisoner." With a grunt, she lifted him and dumped him into the back seat. "This is so not in my job description." She climbed into the car, and Andre quickly followed, starting the engine and driving them out of the abandoned factory. Meanwhile, Adam lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind was racing. Arya and I both awakened at death's door, and now Alfred and Arya have awakened too. That has to mean something. If our abilities come from our parents, then that means they were superhumans too. And if that's true, their deaths might not be as simple as they seemed. He let out a slow breath. "I have to get stronger," he murmured, "just like that shadow woman said. And lucky for me, I have a way to do it." With that, he pulled up his stats. Stats. Name, Adam Dark. Bloodline, unknown. Race, human.
Existence tiers, Unawa Kent. Physique, 20.
Mental 20. Soul 20. Abilities, creation of all things LVL 1. Regeneration, LVL 2. Seeker's Sense, LVL 1. "But I'm at the limit of my race," Adam muttered, deep in thought. "If I want to get stronger, I need to evolve past it." Just then, his system responded. "You can create a racial limit-breaking pill. But with the current level of creation of all things, you can only make low to high-tier pills enough to break your limit 3 times. Alternatively, you could train your abilities like humans in this world do, but that would be inefficient. Your current abilities won't increase your stats, and you can't level up creation of all things that way. Your best option is to evolve your race." Adam blinked in surprise. "Wait, you can talk?" "Of course. I just didn't see the need to until now."
Adam chuckled.
"Well, that's new." He thought about it for a moment, then nodded. "All right, I'll take your advice. I'll I'll create the pill, and while I'm at it, I'll make some fruits to boost my abilities. Oh, and a device to block my aura and maybe my screams. He closed his eyes, focusing. In his mind, he envisioned everything. The pills, the fruits, and the device. A moment later, thunk. Bottles filled with pills appeared on his bed, looking like something straight out of a cultivation novel. Next to them, 2 baskets of strange, glowing fruits. And beside that, a sleek, futuristic-looking device.
Adam Simirket.
Well, here goes nothing. Chapter 13, Breaking Limits 2. Racial Limit Breaking Pill High Tier. Effect: breaks the racial limit of the user, allowing them to evolve beyond human constraints. Can be used up to 3 times. Side effects: extreme pain during transformation. Etheric growth fruit. Effect: enhances ability growth by accelerating comprehension and development. Consuming one will boost the level of an ability. Limit: can only be used once per ability per level. Void concealment device. Effect: suppresses aura and isolates energy fluctuations, preventing detection from external sources. Additional feature: blocks sound leakage. Well, here goes nothing. Adam picked up the void concealment device and pressed the activation button. A faint hum filled the air as the device powered on, creating an invisible barrier around his room. That should keep things under control, he muttered. His eyes then fell on the small bottle of racial limit-breaking pills. Twisting off the cap, he tilted it slightly, letting the pills roll into his palm. 3 smooth, marble-sized pills rested in his hand, each one a deep, swirling black with streaks of glowing silver running through them, almost like tiny galaxies trapped in stone. They pulsed faintly, as if they were alive. 3 pills, huh? Adam murmured, studying them for a moment before popping one into his mouth. The pill dissolved instantly on his tongue, sending a rush of warmth down his throat. First, nothing happened. Then, boom! A shockwave exploded through his body. His muscles tensed, his bones felt like they were being stretched, and his skin burned like fire was coursing through his veins. He gritted his teeth, clutching his chest as his heartbeat pounded like a drum. It felt like his entire being was reconstructing itself. Flashes of energy surged through his mind, his soul, his very essence. His senses sharpened, his thoughts became clearer, and his body, it was changing. Seconds felt like hours as the transformation tore through him. Then, just as quickly as it started, it ended. Adam collapsed onto the bed, drenched in sweat, his breath ragged. A familiar notification appeared before his eyes. Evolution complete. Race: high-tier human, ascendant variant.
Physique, +10.
Mental +10. Soul +10. New trait unlocked. Ascendant adaptability. Your body, mind, and soul evolve at an accelerated rate, allowing you to adapt to extreme conditions and environments naturally. Adam blinked, still catching his breath. He flexed his fingers, feeling a surge of power unlike anything before. This is insane, he muttered, and he still had 2 more pills left. Adam glanced at the 2 remaining pills in his hand and swallowed one. Nothing. He frowned and took the last one. This time, something inside him shifted, but it wasn't enough. Humph, just like I thought. It won't be that easy, he muttered. Without hesitation, he grabbed another bottle, popped the cap, and poured the pills into his palm. He swallowed one. Something inside him began to fill up. Another, he felt it reaching its limit. Then his eyes fell on the last pill. This should be the one to break through, he said, taking a deep breath before swallowing it. The moment it hit his stomach, boom! A surge of energy exploded from within, shaking his entire body. His vision blurred, his ears rang, and a deep, primal force ripped through every fiber of his being. Adam clutched his chest as his heart pounded wildly, his blood feeling like molten lava rushing through his veins. His bones cracked and stretched, muscles tightening and hardening as if reforging themselves from the inside out. His skin burned and tingled as new strength surged through him. His mind expanded, thoughts becoming faster, clearer, sharper. He felt aware of himself, of the room, of the very air shifting around him. And then, just like before, the pain faded. A new notification flashed before his eyes. Evolution complete. Race. Supreme human, transcendent variant.
Physique, plus 50.
Mental, plus 50. Soul, plus 50. New trait unlocked. Transcendent core. Your existence has reached a level beyond normal superhumans. Your body, mind, and soul have begun to fuse into a singular, indestructible force, making future evolutions smoother and more powerful. Adam exhaled, sitting up slowly. His entire body felt different, stronger, lighter, almost unreal. He clenched his fist. The sheer power behind the simple motion sent shivers down his spine. Now this is progress, he muttered, a smirk forming on his lips. And yet, he knew this was just the beginning. Adam grabbed the remaining 3 bottles, popped them open, and without hesitation, swallowed all the pills at once. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, boom! A force unlike anything before erupted from within him. His body jerked as if struck by lightning, his veins glowing with a brilliant, pulsating light. His room, no, the entire city trembled. Windows shattered. Lights flickered. The air itself became heavy, charged with raw energy. And then the phenomenon spread. Across the world, the skies darkened for a brief moment before a radiant glow replaced the gloom. People looked up, sensing something beyond their comprehension. Somewhere in the vastness of space, stars flickered in response. Planets trembled, celestial bodies shifting ever so slightly, acknowledging the birth of something new. The universe itself had taken notice. Adam's body lifted off the bed, floating midair as his very being underwent a transformation. His bones, his muscles, his soul, everything was breaking apart and reforming into something greater. A golden radiance engulfed him, shifting between colors, silver, blue, violet, each shade carrying an unknown meaning, a recognition from the universe itself. Then, as if granting its blessing, the cosmos responded. A surge of knowledge, power, and understanding flooded his mind. The mysteries of existence, the fabric of reality itself, it all welcomed him. At that moment, Adam was no longer just human. He had become something beyond that. Evolution complete. Race. Celestial human, primordial variant.
Physique, plus
Mental. Plus. Soul. Plus. New trait unlocked. Primordial authority. The universe has acknowledged your existence. Your will can now influence reality itself, bending the natural order to your command. New ability awakened. Cosmic ascendance. A power that grants you access to the very foundation of creation, allowing you to grow infinitely without restrictions. The glow surrounding him slowly faded as his feet touched the ground. Adam exhaled, his breath carrying an energy that made the air ripple around him. His hands clenched, and he felt it, an overwhelming power that words couldn't describe. He looked up. Somewhere, someone had also felt his awakening, and they were watching. Chapter 14, Ability Upgrades. Updated stats. Name, Adam Dark. Bloodline, unknown. Race, celestial human, primordial variant.
Existence tiers, Unawa Kent. Physique, 300.
Mental 300. Soul 300. Traits, ascendant adaptability. Your body, mind, and soul evolve at an accelerated rate, allowing you to adapt to extreme conditions and environments naturally. Transcendent core, your existence has reached a level beyond normal superhumans. Your body, mind, and soul have begun to fuse into a singular, indestructible force, making future evolutions smoother and more powerful. Primordial authority, the universe has acknowledged your existence. Your will can now influence reality itself, bending the natural order to your command. Abilities, creation of all things LVL2. Regeneration, LVL2. Seeker's sense, LVL1. Adam stared at the glowing interface before him, the numbers and words barely registering as he processed everything that had just happened. His entire being buzzed with power, like the universe itself had rewired him from the inside out. Even though his stats had skyrocketed, something told him this was just the start. He flexed his fingers, feeling the sheer density of his new form. Every cell in his body felt unreal, and yet he was still unawakened. A smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. So this is just the beginning, huh? Well, time to upgrade my abilities, Adam muttered, grabbing a handful of fruits from the basket. One by one, he tossed them into his mouth, chewing lazily as a familiar stream of notifications popped up in his vision. Regeneration leveled up. Seeker's Sense leveled up. Regeneration leveled up. Seeker's Sense leveled up. Regeneration leveled up. Seeker's Sense leveled up. The notifications kept coming, the same two abilities leveling up over and over again until Regeneration has reached max level. Seeker's Sense has reached max level. Abilities ready for evolution. Adam raised a brow, tossing the last fruit into his mouth as he read the message. Evolution of an ability, huh? Wonder what that looks like, he mused. He focused on creation of all things next, now at level 2. Before, he could only create basic things like food and simple objects, but now, he imagined an orb smooth, glowing faintly, something that could help him evolve his abilities. And unlike before, this time it actually worked. A small, translucent orb appeared in his palm, pulsing with energy. It wasn't anything too crazy, but it felt stable, functional. Not bad, he muttered, rolling it between his fingers. Let's see how this works. Without hesitation, he pressed the orb against his chest. It dissolved instantly, sending a tingling sensation through his body. Regeneration is evolving. Adam shuddered slightly as warmth spread through his limbs. His muscles tightened for a moment before relaxing, his body adapting to the change. A few seconds later, a new notification appeared. Regeneration has evolved into adaptive regeneration. New effect, your body no longer just heals, it adapts to damage. Repeated injuries in the same area will heal faster each time, reducing overall recovery time.
Adam Blinked.
Ha! Not bad. It wasn't anything too crazy, but it was definitely useful. If he ever got into a fight and took repeated hits, his body would start learning how to heal quicker. All right, next up. He grabbed another orb, pressing it against himself. Seeker's Sense is evolving. A rush of clarity hit him, like his mind had just been tuned to a higher frequency. His senses sharpened, stretching out beyond his immediate surroundings. He could hear faint heartbeats in the distance, feel the subtle shifts in air pressure, almost like the world itself was talking to him. Seeker's Sense has evolved into Omniscient Instinct. New effect. Your perception has been enhanced. You can now sense threats, hidden presences, and intentions with greater accuracy. Your body will also react instinctively to danger before your mind fully registers it. Adam let out a low whistle. Now that is useful. He closed his eyes for a moment, testing it out. He could feel the energy of the room, the way the air moved, the subtle vibrations of the walls. If someone tried sneaking up on him, his body would react before he even had to think about it. Not overpowered, but definitely an upgrade. He stretched, rolling his shoulders. All right, that's 2 down. Now, what's next? Your next step is to figure out the secrets of this world. To do that, you need an ability that makes it easier. Your creation of all things is too low to make something that advanced, but given the nature of this world, technopathy would be your best option. The system's voice echoed in Adam's head. He smirked. Yeah, that makes sense. Closing his eyes, he focused. His ability had leveled up enough to create more than just basic objects now, so he imagined the perfect catalyst for this new power. A moment later, an orb appeared in his palm. It was smooth, metallic, and dark silver, with faint blue circuits glowing across its surface. Every few seconds, Tiny lines of data flickered along its shell, shifting like a living network. It hummed softly, like a low-powered machine waiting to be activated. Adam turned it over in his hand, feeling a strange connection to it, like it was already syncing with him. "All right," he muttered. "Let's see what this does." Without hesitation, he pressed the orb against his chest. The moment the orb touched his chest, ZZT, a sharp jolt ran through Adam's body, like static electricity surging through his veins. His vision flickered, his mind expanding as an overwhelming flood of information rushed in. He gasped, gripping his head as glowing blue lines ran up his arms, spreading across his skin like a circuit board. His senses shifted, tuned into something entirely new. His eyes snapped open. Everything around him, his room, the furniture, the concealed devices, had changed. He wasn't just seeing them anymore. He was understanding them. The TV in the corner? He could feel its inner workings, the electrical signals running through it, the data flowing in and out. His phone on the desk. He could hear the notifications before they even appeared, like the device itself was speaking to him. Even the void concealment device, he could sense how it functioned, how it masked energy fluctuations and suppressed sound. If he wanted, he could tweak it, alter its output, maybe even improve it. A notification appeared before his eyes. New ability acquired. Technopathy, LVL1, grants the ability to understand, control, and manipulate technology. Can interface with any electronic device. Can interpret and decode digital data effortlessly. Can override or alter basic technological functions. Adam let out a slow breath, flexing his fingers as the blue glow faded from his skin. "Time to upgrade it," Adam muttered, grabbing a handful of fruits from the basket. He bit into one, barely paying attention to the taste as the familiar wave of energy surged through him. One notification after another popped up in his mind. Technopathy leveled up. Technopathy leveled up. Technopathy leveled up. Kept going until the messages finally changed. Technopathy has reached its limit. Evolution is now possible. Adam exhaled, stretching his fingers as the energy settled. "All right, let's see what this does." He closed his eyes, focusing on the ability, and the change hit instantly. A sharp pulse ran through his skull, like a signal being transmitted straight into his brain. His body tensed as a web of glowing blue lines spread across his skin again, this time thicker, more intricate, like a fusion of organic nerves and circuitry. His mind expanded further. The world around him wasn't just full of technology, it was part of him now. The phone, the concealed devices, even the electrical wiring hidden behind the walls. He could feel them like extensions of his own body. No, it was more than that. He could think in code. He could see networks like they were living things. He could hear signals, frequencies, and even the faint electric pulses running through the devices in the city beyond. A notification appeared. Ability evolution complete. Neural cybernetic technopathy, the fusion of mind and machine, allowing seamless interaction with both digital and biological networks. Can control, manipulate, and enhance any form of technology. Can interface with AI, override security systems, and alter programming in real time. Can process, decode, and analyze information faster than supercomputers. Can connect with and influence brainwave signals, allowing interaction with minds like a neural network. Adam opened his eyes, the blue glow fading as he processed everything. He could feel the city's systems now, surveillance cameras, traffic lights, communication networks, like an invisible web waiting for him to pull the strings. He flexed his fingers. His phone unlocked instantly, screen shifting as if it was reading his thoughts. Then, just for fun, he focused on the void concealment device. It flickered. Then, its efficiency doubled.
Adam Simirket.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. Chapter 15. Quitting. The next morning, Adam opened his door to find his siblings already dressed and ready for school. "Arya, are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Alfred asked, eyes wide as he stared at Adam. "I'm definitely seeing it," Arya said, pushing past Adam into his room. She glanced around suspiciously. There must be a secret in here. She stood in the middle of the room, examining it like it was some ancient mystery waiting to be solved. Adam smirked, glancing at his reflection in the mirror. He looked completely different from yesterday. If before he was just ridiculously good-looking, now he had an almost otherworldly presence, like a celestial being walking among mortals. "Forget about me," he said, turning back to them. "Where do you guys think you're going?" "School, obviously," Arya replied, giving him a look like he was asking a dumb question. Adam immediately shook his head. "Nope, that's not happening. You two are staying home until things cool off. Also, you need to get the hang of your powers first. I don't need you accidentally setting someone on fire or turning them into an ice sculpture." "Yes, finally, a reason to skip school." Alfred cheered, jumping up and down like a little kid who just got his favorite toy. Arya, on the other hand, wasn't as excited. She sighed, knowing he had a point. "Fine. But I have two conditions. One, I need time to study, and two, I want a little reward for not complaining." Adam narrowed his eyes. "What do you want?" He could already feel a headache coming. "I want to stay in your room for the night," she said, casually walking around and inspecting the place. "There's definitely something special about it. Maybe it's connected to your powers." Adam and Alfred both gave her the same look. "Really?" Adam rubbed his head. Well, at least it wasn't the headache he was expecting. "Fine, you can stay," he said, slipping on his jacket. "I'm heading out too. I might not be back until tomorrow, and when I do, your training starts." With that, he left. The moment the door shut, Arya flopped onto his bed, sinking into it with a satisfied sigh. "All right, time to see what he's hiding," she muttered, sitting up. She glanced over at Alfred, who was still grinning about skipping school. "Hey, dullard, a little help here."
Alfred frowned.
"What? I need help, you idiot," Arya said, throwing her hands up. "Every day, Adam walks out of this room looking completely different. There's got to be something in here. We just have to find it." Alfred gave her a look like she'd lost her mind. "Oh, really? Well, I hate to break it to you, but I'm not helping." He turned and walked off, leaving her scowling. "Ah, fine. I'll do it myself. But when I figure out Adam's secret, don't come crying to me to share." Arya huffed before getting to work. Elsewhere. "So, the one time you actually come to work early is the day you decide to quit?" Gloria chuckled, shaking her head. "That's funny. So what's the reason? Did you find a better job or something?" she asked, a slight frown on her face. Adam let out a small sigh. "I wouldn't say I found a better job with better pay. I just have some things to take care of, and they'll take up a lot of my time. But I promise, once I'm done, I'll be back." He gave her a sad smile. Gloria scoffed. "And you think your spot will just be sitting here waiting for you? Dream on. I already have someone in mind to replace you." She waved him off. "You can go now." Adam nodded, turning to leave. But before stepping out, he looked back at her. "Gloria, you've been the best boss I've ever had. It was a pleasure working here, and I'll never forget it." She rolled her eyes but smiled slightly as he walked out. "So, you're really leaving us?" Becca said the moment Adam stepped out of the kitchen. "Yeah. News spreads fast around here." Adam gave a small smile, but there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. He had more important things to deal with, dangerous things. He couldn't drag anyone else into it. Becca crossed her arms. "Well, goodbye then. But someone's not going to be happy about this." She tilted her head towards the corner of the room. Adam followed her gaze and saw Anita, sitting there, head down, silent. She didn't even have the courage to look at him, let alone say goodbye. He sighed and walked over, kneeling in front of her. "Hey," he said softly, "I'm leaving today, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but I know how you feel about me." His voice was gentle but firm. "I wish I could say I felt the same, but my world is different now. It's filled with danger, and I don't want to bring you into it." Anita's hands trembled slightly on her lap, but she still didn't look up. Adam stood up slowly. "I'm sorry for telling you like this, but I hope you find someone who'll love you the way you deserve. Then he turned and walked away. As soon as he stepped outside, Anita finally lifted her head, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. One by one, they spilled down her cheeks. Why? She whispered, her voice breaking with each word. Becca sighed and pulled her into a hug. Come on, girl. Not everything in life goes the way you want. She glanced at the glass wall, watching Adam as he walked further away. The aura surrounding him was unreal, powerful, untouchable. Becca's expression tightened. Even the higher-ups of the supernatural world don't have that kind of presence. In just one night, a voice came from behind them. Becca immediately let go of Anita and turned, lowering her head slightly. Young miss, she greeted, her tone more serious now. But Anita was no longer the shy, trembling girl from moments ago. She had changed, and the look in her eyes said everything. Chapter 16. Freya Dark. Well, time to start digging into the supernatural world, Adam muttered as he stood in front of a computer center. He could have done this at home, but he preferred being here. The connection was better, the range was wider, and honestly, he just wanted some fresh air. With that thought, he stepped inside. The place was packed with people, some playing games, others watching videos, and a few actually working. The hum of keyboards and occasional bursts of laughter filled the room. Adam walked to an empty computer, sat down, and logged in. The moment the screen lit up, his ability kicked in. His neural cybernetic technopathy linked him directly to the digital world, letting him process information at insane speeds. Data flooded his mind, news reports, underground forums, encrypted files, all filtered through his thoughts like a high-speed scanner. All right, let's see what's hiding beneath the surface. He started with basic searches. Supernatural sightings, unexplained events, hidden organizations. Most of it was nonsense, ghost stories, conspiracy theories, urban legends. But then, something caught his eye. A forum post, buried deep in a dark web thread. The veil is thinning. Those who see beyond it should tread carefully. The replies were filled with people claiming to have seen strange things. Creatures in the shadows, people vanishing without a trace, symbols appearing on buildings overnight.
Adam Simirket.
Now this looks interesting. He leaned back, cracking his fingers, and dove deeper. Adam kept scrolling through the forums, sifting through layers of junk until something else caught his eye. A company called Silvermane Inc. At first glance, it looked like just another high-end tech company, dealing in AI, cybersecurity, and advanced robotics. But something felt off. For one, they had almost no online presence beyond their official site and a handful of news articles. No leaks, no insider reviews, nothing. Companies that big always had some dirt floating around. Yet, Silvermane Incorporated was clean, too clean. That alone made Adam suspicious. His fingers moved instinctively as he tapped into their system. He bypassed basic firewalls with ease, but then he hit something unexpected. An encrypted file. Not just any encryption, but high-level military-grade security.
Adam Simirket.
Now, why would a tech company have something like this? He leaned forward, eyes gleaming as he cracked his knuckles. This was more than just a random company. Something was being hidden here, and he was going to find out what. Tapping deeper into his neural cybernetic technopathy, he let his mind sync with the system, his thoughts flowing through lines of code like a digital ghost. Security layers fell apart one by one until access granted. The file opened, revealing pages of classified reports, strange symbols, and most importantly, mentions of supernatural entities.
Adam Chaklet.
Found you. Adam's eyes flickered as he scrolled through the decrypted files. Lines of classified text filled the screen, deals, experiments, cover-ups. Silvermane Incorporated wasn't just working with the supernatural. They were supernatural. In this country, there were 5 ruling families and 3 powerful organizations that controlled everything from the shadows. Each one had deep ties to the supernatural world. One name stood out immediately, the Blackveil family. That was the one he had originally planned to investigate. They were notorious, rumored to be involved in everything from underground supernatural trades to ancient relic hoarding. They were the mafia of the supernatural world. But then, another name appeared. One that made his breath hitch for just a second. The Dark family. His surname. Adam's fingers hovered over the keyboard as his mind raced. Dark. Could it just be a coincidence? No. He clicked on the file. A deep hum filled his ears as the screen loaded, lines of encrypted history flashing before his eyes. His heart pounded. The truth about his own name, his past, whatever was hidden in this file, he was about to find out. Elsewhere. Freya still hasn't been found? The deep, weathered voice of Franklin Dark, the head of the Dark family, echoed through the dimly lit study. His sharp eyes, filled with years of wisdom and regret, remained fixed on the swirling whiskey in his glass. Standing behind him, a woman in her mid-30s lowered her head. Madeline Dark. Her posture was tense, as if the weight of her father's words pressed down on her shoulders. I've used every resource at my disposal, she admitted, her voice steady but laced with frustration. Big sister Freya. She's hiding too well. If Adam were here, he'd immediately notice it, the resemblance between Madeline, his mother, and his younger sister Arya. Franklin let out a slow sigh, rubbing his temples as memories from 19 years ago surfaced like ghosts from the past. The day Freya turned her back on the family. The day he pushed his own daughter away. We should let it go for now, Father. Madeline spoke gently, trying to ease the tension in the room. She'll come around. She always does. Franklin's grip on his glass tightened.
No.
His voice was firm, the air growing heavier. This isn't like last time. Madeline flinched as his gaze snapped to hers, cold and piercing. The first time she ran away, it was because she thought she'd never awaken as a superhuman. Because of the bullying. His words were laced with an unspoken accusation, and Madeline's lips pressed into a thin line. But she came back, Franklin continued, his expression softening just slightly. She awakened, became one of us. She was happy to return. His shoulders sagged as he leaned back in his chair, the ice in his drink clinking softly. But this time, she left because we opposed the man she loved. He exhaled deeply, his voice barely above a whisper. And it's been 19 years. A chill settled in the room, and still no sign of her. Back at the cafe. The dim glow of the computer screen was the only light in the room, casting flickering shadows on Adam's face. His eyes, wide and unblinking, reflected the image staring back at him. A woman. Not just any woman. A woman he knew too well. His breath hitched, and his hands clenched into fists on the keyboard. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, drowning out everything else. The name beneath the image burned into his vision. Freya Dark. His mother. Mom. The word escaped his lips in a whisper, raw with disbelief. A storm of emotions crashed inside him. Shock, confusion, anger, relief. Why is her name here? What does this mean? What the hell is going on? The screen flickered slightly, as if taunting him with secrets buried for years. Adam swallowed hard, his pulse racing. He was standing at the edge of something big. Something that could change everything he thought he knew. Chapter 17. The Truth. The dim light from the holographic screen flickered, casting an eerie glow over Sarah's exhausted face. Her body ached, but when she heard Charles's words, all fatigue vanished. I've found them, Sarah. She dragged herself forward, eyes narrowing as she focused on the images in front of her. 2 children, no older than 8. That alone wasn't strange. But their names, their last names. Dark. Her chest tightened. Are they connected to the Dark family? She asked, her voice low. Charles shook his head. I don't think so. I ran a full background check. Nothing links them to the family. They're orphans. But there's more. Another image flashed onto the screen. A young man. Sharp features. Intense eyes.
Adam Dark.
Sarah's frown deepened as she turned to Charles, her mind racing. Yeah, I thought the same thing, Charles muttered, staring at Adam's face. He looks exactly like the president's son. The air grew heavy. The implications were too big to ignore. Sarah exhaled, rubbing her temples as another headache threatened to surface. Copy everything to my drive. The president needs to see this. She's the only one who might understand what the hell is going on here. Charles nodded, already moving to transfer the data. But before she turned to leave, a thought stopped her in her tracks. Is Adam the first awakened? Or are they still out there? She asked, her voice calm but sharp. Charles hesitated, then spoke. Everything points to him. And get this, he survived a gunshot to the head. Sarah's lips parted slightly, then curled into something unreadable. All three siblings awakened as X-rank superhumans. She murmured, almost to herself. Some would call it luck. Others would call it fate. But to her, it looked a hell of a lot like something bigger was at play. Without another word, she turned and walked away, her mind already spinning with the possibilities. The heavy doors to the presidential office swung open, and Sarah stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, save for the golden glow of the desk lamp illuminating the president, who was flipping through a stack of documents. She barely looked up as Sarah approached, exhaustion evident in her posture. I hope this is good news, the president muttered, setting the files aside with a sigh. Because that's exactly what I need right now. Sarah didn't sit. Instead, she walked forward and placed a hard drive on the desk. I wouldn't call it good news, but it's not bad news either. Her tone was neutral, but the weight behind her words was unmistakable. It's complicated. The president arched a brow before sighing. It always is. She took the drive, inserted it into her laptop, and waited as the screen flickered to life. Silence. Her expression hardened as she scanned the files. Her fingers tapped lightly against the desk before. Suddenly, she chuckled. A small, knowing smile crossed her lips. Just as I expected. Sarah's brows furrowed slightly. You knew. The president leaned back in her chair, folding her hands together as she met Sarah's gaze. This is more than good news, child. This changes everything. Her smile widened. You truly are a competent one. I had faith in you, and I see now that it was not misplaced. The president's eyes remained fixed on the screen, her fingers slightly trembling as she stared at Adam's picture. His face, it was so much like her son's. The resemblance was undeniable. But then her expression darkened. Orphans. Her voice was sharp, laced with something between disbelief and anger. She turned her gaze to Sarah. Explain. Sarah had expected this reaction. She took a steady breath before speaking. Charles dug into them because of their last name, she began. He wanted to see if they had any connection to the Dark family. But there was nothing. No records, no links, not even their parents' identities. It was as if everything about them was erased. The only thing we found was a note in their files. Parents deceased. That's why they ended up as orphans. Silence filled the room. The president clenched her jaw, her fingers curling into a fist. My son is not dead. Her voice was firm, unshaken. If he was, I would know. Sarah remained silent. The president leaned back, her gaze turning distant. And that woman, she wouldn't go down so easily. Her fingers drummed against the desk. She is the queen of cryopyrokinesis for a reason. A hint of something, maybe regret, maybe admiration, flashed in her eyes. I never approved of their union at first, but I respected his decision. She was strong. Strong enough that, had things gone differently, she would have reached planetary-level power, the kind only spoken of in legends. Yet they vanished. And now, you're telling me they're dead. She exhaled sharply.
No.
Something doesn't add up. Her gaze sharpened as she looked at Sarah again. Look deeper into this. If necessary, get Thomas from the Viridian organization involved. I want answers. My son and his wife are out there. Her voice dropped slightly, filled with a quiet determination. And their children need them. She grabbed the hard drive and handed it back to Sarah. Go. Sarah gave a slight nod before turning and walking out, leaving the president alone with the weight of the past. The president got up and walked to the window and stood there and had a smile on her face. I am a grandmother and my grandkids have the same potential as their father and that woman, all three capable of reaching the planetary level. What more could I ask for? She said like a proud grandmother. Elsewhere, the night air was cold, the streets dimly lit by flickering streetlights. Adam walked in silence, his hands stuffed into his pockets, his mind racing with everything he had just uncovered. His parents, the two most powerful superhumans in the world. His mother, a dark. His father, the son of the president, Tadia Williams. And all this time, his aunt, Gloria Williams, had been watching over him. Watching but never telling him the truth. His breath was visible in the cold air as he exhaled. Tage, what a day. A small smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. Guess it's time to pay my dear aunt a visit. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark as data streamed through his mind. The city around him pulsed like a network of invisible threads, each one whispering secrets only he could hear. Technopathy really is useful, huh? With a flick of his fingers, he sent a silent command through the system. Location locked. Gloria Williams, I'm coming. Chapter 18, Meeting with Aunt. Hello, Auntie. The voice sent a chill down Gloria's spine. She spun around, her TV floating in the air, following her startled movement. Instinct kicked in, telekinesis flared, ready to strike, until she saw who it was. Oh my God, Adam. She exhaled sharply, pressing a hand to her chest. You scared the hell out of me. But then, it hit her. He called her Auntie. Her expression shifted, the weight of realization settling in. He knows. A sigh escaped her lips as she gently lowered the TV back into place. So, you figured it out. Adam stood up, his sharp gaze never leaving her. Telekinesis. Handy ability. He studied her, the woman who had once been his boss, the feared Ice Queen Gloria Williams, now revealed as his aunt. Gloria crossed her arms. How? Adam smirked, walking past her toward the TV. My ability. Technopathy. He barely lifted a finger, and the TV flickered to life. Gloria raised an eyebrow. Not bad. I thought you'd inherit your mother's abilities. Or maybe your father's. She strolled over to the fridge, grabbing 2 drinks. Adam took one, twisting the cap open. Arya and Alfred did. Fire and ice twins, I call them. He took a sip before his tone turned colder. So tell me, Auntie, why didn't you visit when my parents were alive? And after they disappeared, why did you just abandon us? Why keep me in the dark about who we really are? Gloria sighed, setting her drink down. She ran a hand through her hair, choosing her words carefully. It's not that simple. She finally sat down, eyes heavy with a past she had tried to bury. I made a promise to your father. When he left home, I swore I wouldn't interfere in his life. And when he and your mother disappeared, I made another promise to never drag you into the supernatural world. She hesitated before adding, distancing myself was the only way to keep you safe. If Mother found out about you 3, she wouldn't stop until she had you in her grasp. And my brother, he didn't want you involved. Not yet. Her voice softened. So, forgive me, Adam, if I chose to listen to my brother over his son's wish for a family. Adam clenched his fists, his body trembling as he took a deep breath. His voice rose, raw with anger and frustration. You should have told me. If I had known who we really are, what we can do. If I knew about the other families, about the supernatural, Alfred and Arya wouldn't have almost died. His voice cracked, and his breathing became uneven. I would have been halfway to finding my parents by now. I wouldn't have been so damn powerless. Gloria's expression darkened the moment she heard that. What do you mean Alfred and Arya's lives were in danger? Adam let out a bitter laugh, his eyes filled with pain. The night they awakened, they were abducted. His voice dropped, shaking with barely contained rage. By Mark, a Black Veil kid. Gloria's fingers twitched. Black Veil. Adam's chest tightened as the memories resurfaced. Arya. She almost died. His voice barely made it past his lips. Or maybe she did. I don't even know anymore. Alfred said she stopped breathing. And I wasn't there. I was too late. Tears burned at the corners of his eyes. But he didn't care. And when I finally got there, it didn't even matter. Someone stronger than me took the kid. And His hands curled into fists. I couldn't do anything. I was just powerless. His shoulders shook as he wiped at his face. But the tears wouldn't stop. But you. His voice hardened as he turned back to Gloria. You could have stopped it. If you were paying attention, if you weren't so busy playing boss, you would have known. You would have seen it coming. But you didn't. A choked sob left his lips as he finally let everything out. You didn't. And now I would have had to live with that if she truly died. Gloria sighed, stepping forward and placing a hand on Adam's shoulder. Her grip was firm, but there was a rare softness in her voice. I'm sorry, she murmured. I was just listening to my brother. This is exactly why he never wanted you involved in the supernatural world. Her fingers tightened slightly. But I promise you, Adam, this won't happen again. That Black Veil kid. Her eyes flashed with fury. He will pay for what he did to Arya. Adam wiped his face with the back of his hand before standing up. His expression had already hardened. Don't worry about that. I'll handle it. He met Gloria's gaze. What I need from you is simple. Help Alfred and Arya learn to control their abilities. That's not something I can teach them. Gloria narrowed her eyes. And what about you? You said it yourself, you were weak. You can't just take on the entire Black Veil family alone. Adam smirked, cracking his neck. That's because I'm not weak anymore. As he stood up fully, the air around him shifted. A low hum filled the room, the walls trembling slightly as an invisible force rippled outward. His aura poured out like a tidal wave, distorting the very air itself. The temperature in the room fluctuated wildly, electronics flickering, shadows stretching unnaturally. Gloria instinctively took a step back, her breath hitching. Sweat beaded on her forehead. This pressure, her mind raced. It's like facing Mother. Even her brother, strong as he was, never gave off an aura like this. Not openly, anyway. But Adam, how did he grow this strong right under my nose? She stared at him, and in that moment, she didn't see her nephew. She saw a god. Then, to her own surprise, she laughed, loud and full of something almost nostalgic. He's going to be proud of you, you know? Adam let his aura settle, giving her a cocky grin. Yeah, well, he can tell me himself when I find him. Gloria shook her head, still smiling. So, what's your plan? Adam turned to face her, eyes sharp, focused. There's a Black Veil operation happening downtown. A dangerous glint flickered across his gaze. I'm going to bust it. He cracked his knuckles, electricity flickering along his fingertips. I can't take Mark down without crippling the Black Veil family first. If I want him, I need to take everything from them, piece by piece. He stepped past Gloria, heading for the window. So help me out, Auntie. Take care of Alfred and Arya while I do what needs to be done. All right, Gloria sighed, rubbing her temples. I promise this time, I'll be more involved. You do what you have to do. I'll take care of the rest. Adam gave her a small nod before turning toward the window. He paused, glancing back at her one last time. Thanks, Auntie. And then he was gone. Gloria watched as he leapt out the window, disappearing into the night. A small smile tugged at her lips, but it quickly faded. There was work to do. She turned on her heels, heading for her bedroom. She didn't need much, just a few essentials. This wasn't a normal night anymore. But as soon as she stepped out of her apartment, she was met with two familiar faces. Jane Galveston, Adam's nurse from the hospital, the kind and attentive one. And then there was Alexandria Black Veil. That smug, wicked grin on Alexandria's face already told Gloria she wasn't here for friendly conversation. What? Gloria deadpanned, blocking the doorway as both women peeked past her, trying to catch a glimpse inside. "We felt an intense aura coming from here," Alexandria mused, tilting her head slightly. "So we came to check." Her smirk widened, something playful, but laced with danger. Gloria frowned. "And how exactly is that your business?" She folded her arms, eyes narrowing especially at Alexandria. Alexandria let out a soft chuckle, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Oh, it's not my business at all," she admitted, her voice dripping with amusement. "I just wanted to make sure you were safe, out of the goodness of my heart. After all, what are friends for?" Gloria's jaw tightened. That smile, that fake, insincere sweetness. She hated it. Before she could snap back, Jane spoke up. "I heard you're closing down your restaurant." Her tone was careful, almost like she was feeling out Gloria's reaction. "Why? Is it because of your nephew? I heard he's no longer working there." Gloria's gaze flickered to Alexandria immediately. Of course, Becca and Anita, her spies. Though if she had to guess, Becca was the real snitch. Anita was just the vessel Alexandria used to keep tabs on Adam. Gloria let out a slow, unimpressed sigh before turning to Alexandria. "Yes." Then, with a smirk of her own, she leaned in slightly, voice dropping to something more dangerous. "And you? Stop daydreaming about my nephew." Her eyes darkened. "Or I'll pluck those pretty little eyes out myself." Chapter 19. The Calm Before the Storm. "Move the crate over there," a gruff voice barked. A man in his early 30s, dressed in a black trench coat, watched over a group of men hauling large, sealed crates across the dimly lit warehouse floor. The air was thick with dust, the flickering overhead lights casting long, ominous shadows. "Careful with that," he snapped. "If you break it before the buyer gets here, I'll break you." The men hurried, sweating despite the cold air. These weren't ordinary crates, they carried something far more dangerous than guns or drugs. This was Reaper Mafia territory, a notorious crime syndicate with deep ties to the Blackvale family. The two groups worked hand in hand, running underground operations that most people didn't even know existed. A black car pulled up outside, its headlights cutting through the thick fog. Another man, younger, late 20s, stepped out, adjusting his tie nervously. His eyes darted around the darkened lot as he approached the first man. "When are the Blackvale guys getting here?" he muttered, rubbing his arms. "Being here gives me the creeps." The older man chuckled darkly, lighting a cigarette. "Patience," he said, exhaling a thick cloud of smoke. "They're always on time. They'll be here." The younger man didn't seem convinced. "Hope so," he muttered, his voice tight with anxiety. The cold night air carried a weight with it, something unseen but felt. And high above them, perched on the edge of the warehouse rooftop, Adam watched. He crouched, dressed in all black, his coat billowing slightly in the breeze. His piercing gaze locked onto the scene below, the faint glow of the city reflecting in his eyes. They should be here any second now. Thanks to his omniscient instinct, his perception had grown razor-sharp. From this distance, he could make out everything. The sweat on the men's necks, the faint crackle of their radios, and there it was. A convoy of black SUVs appeared in the distance, their sleek frames cutting through the night like predators. The same ominous insignia was stamped on the side, a Blackvale family crest. Adam smirked, rising slowly to his feet, the moonlight casting a dramatic silhouette behind him. "Time to knock some asses." He cracked his knuckles, the sound echoing faintly through the night air as his aura began to rise. Subtle but terrifying. The storm was about to hit. The deep rumble of engines filled the air as a fleet of black SUVs rolled into the warehouse lot, their tinted windows hiding the figures within. The Reaper Mafia members tensed as the vehicles came to a slow, deliberate stop. The doors swung open in unison. A group of figures stepped out, dressed in dark tactical attire, each radiating an unmistakable aura of danger. But among them, one person stood out. Oño. She was tall and imposing, her sharp amber eyes gleaming under the dim warehouse lights. Crimson hair, tied in a high ponytail, cascaded down her back, swaying with her movements. A jagged scar ran from her cheekbone to her jawline, adding to her already fearsome presence. Her sleek, black combat suit clung to her athletic frame, accentuating the toned muscles beneath. Fingerless gloves covered her hands, and a single black veil insignia was stitched onto her shoulder, proof of her high-ranking status. She was an A-rank superhuman, a monster in human skin. And her ability? Burst. Burst was an ability that allowed her to store kinetic energy within her body and unleash it in devastating, explosive attacks. The longer she charged, the more powerful the blast. She could launch herself forward at blinding speeds, strike with bone-shattering force, and even trigger localized shockwaves with a mere flick of her wrist. A walking time bomb, ready to detonate. Anya's gaze swept over the Reaper Mafia members before locking onto the man in charge. She smirked. "You look nervous." The older man took a step forward, trying to keep his cool. "Not nervous, just cautious."
Anya csenköld.
"Good answer." She turned to the crates stacked nearby. "Is this everything?" The younger man, still jittery, spoke up. Yeah, just like we agreed. Unopened, untouched." Anya took a slow step forward, her boots clicking against the pavement. She reached out, brushing her fingers against one of the crates. "Let's hope for your sake that's true." Her hand tightened, and with a casual flick of her wrist, she smashed the side of the crate with a concussive burst of energy. The wood exploded outward, sending splinters flying. Silence. The older man swallowed hard but forced a grin. "Damn. You could just use a crowbar like normal people."
Anya left.
"Where's the fun in that?" She stepped back as her men moved in, inspecting the contents of the crates. "Looks good," one of them called out.
Anya noidid.
"Then let's finish this." But before anyone could say another word, a sharp gust of wind blew through the warehouse. Something was coming. No, someone. From above, a figure descended like a shadow falling from the heavens.
Adam.
He landed hard, sending out a wave of force that made the air itself tremble. The ground cracked beneath his feet as dust and debris were kicked up around him. The entire warehouse fell silent. And then,
Yo.
Adam cracked his knuckles, his gaze locked onto Anya. "Heard you guys were looking for trouble." The moment Adam landed, guns were out. A chorus of clicks echoed through the warehouse as dozens of barrels aimed directly at him. Red laser sights traced his body, all locked onto vital points.
Adam?
He just raised his hands, standing tall so they could all see the sleek black mask covering his face. Whoa, chill." He tilted his head, his tone casual. "Why the hostility? We're all friends here, right?" The silence was thick, the tension electric. Then, "Who the hell are you?" Anya's voice cut through the standoff. She wasn't stupid. The man in front of her wasn't just some random punk looking for trouble. He was strong. She could feel it in the air, in the weight of his presence. But fear? No. This wasn't her first time squaring up against someone stronger than her. And it wouldn't be the last. Adam ignored her question and glanced toward the Reaper Mafia. "Kinda weird, don't you think? You didn't immediately turn on them." He nodded toward the gangsters. "Shouldn't you be looking at these guys like they sold you out or something?"
Anya scoffed.
"Turn around."
Adam blinked.
"Ha! Look behind you." He did. And sure enough, the Reaper Mafia guys were practically shitting themselves. Some had gone pale, hands trembling, beads of sweat dripping down their faces. Adam let out a sigh. "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." Then, bang! A gunshot ripped through the silence. In slow motion, Adam saw the bullet leave the barrel. He turned his head, watching it slice through the air, just inches from his face. His perception snapped back to real time. He exhaled sharply and turned back to Anya, a smirk forming under his mask. Damn, that was dirty. His fingers cracked as he flexed them, the sound unnervingly loud in the quiet. "You could have killed me, you know?" Anya's stance didn't change, her fingers still resting on the trigger. Adam rolled his shoulders. Screw the introductions, then. His aura flared, a crushing wave of pressure that sent shivers down the spines of everyone present. Let's get to the fun part. Chapter 20. Adam vs.
Onyo.
Family Revelations. Alfred crossed his arms, eyes narrowing as he stared at Gloria, the bossy woman his brother worked for, the so-called Ice Queen. Wait, so you're telling me you're our aunt? From our dad's side. Gloria smiled, completely unfazed by his suspicion. Yep, your father's little sister.
Alfred scoffed.
Then why now? Why not tell us earlier? Even when Dad was alive, you never showed up, not once. And after he died, you've been in our lives, but you still didn't say a word. So why should I believe you now? Gloria's smile didn't fade, but there was a glint in her eyes. That's not something an 8-year-old should be stressing over. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a photo, handing it to him. Just know that I wouldn't have said anything if your brother hadn't figured it out and confronted me. Since he's busy, I brought proof. Alfred snatched the picture and glanced down at it. A younger Gloria stood beside their father, both smiling at the camera. He blinked, then looked at the framed photo of his father hanging on the wall. He sighed. Well, that changes everything. Gloria chuckled. I know, right? She glanced around. Now, where's that sister of yours? The real Ice Queen. Alfred immediately understood Gloria knew about their abilities, which could only mean one thing. Adam met her today, and she really is their aunt. She's in Adam's room, been there all day, obsessing over his secrets, Alfred said, casually placing the picture on the table. Gloria raised a brow. Secrets? What kind?
Alfred shrugged.
Not really a secret, Percy. It's just, for the past 2 days, every time Adam comes out of his room, he looks different. Gloria frowned. Different how? Alfred leaned back. Yesterday, he looked like a supermodel. Today, according to Arya, he looks like a celestial being walking the earth. Gloria's breath hitched. She had been around Adam all day, but now that she thought about it, it was true. She had felt it but never really noticed. What the hell was going on with Adam? Without another word, she spun on her heel and strode toward Adam's room. She needed to see this for herself. Elsewhere, the warehouse was dead silent for a moment. Then, run! Adam's voice cut through the tension like a blade. His gaze snapped to the Reaper Mafia members who were still frozen in place. I said run, while you still can. They didn't need to be told twice. The moment his words registered, the men bolted. Crates were knocked over, footsteps pounded against the pavement, and panicked breaths filled the air as they scattered like rats. That left only Adam and the Blackveil enforcers. There were about a dozen of them, all superhumans, and they weren't wasting any time. The first one moved in fast. His ability was accelerate, boosting his speed to inhuman levels. In an instant, he was right in front of Adam, fist cocked back, ready to cave his skull in. But Adam had already seen it. Too slow. He leaned back just enough to let the punch graze past his chin. The air pressure alone was strong enough to whip his coat around, but Adam was already countering. His palm struck out, clean, precise, brutal. A direct hit to the ribs. Crack. The speedster's body folded, eyes bulging as pain shot through his torso. Before he could even register the agony, Adam grabbed his wrist and yanked. The man flew. His body twisted midair before he slammed into the concrete wall behind them. Hard. His body left a dent in the metal before slumping to the ground, unconscious. Next, 2 more lunged at him. One had stone hide, making his skin as tough as reinforced steel. The other, tremor hands, capable of generating powerful shockwaves with every punch. They came in fast, fists flying. Adam twisted his body, slipping between their attacks like water. A fist aimed at his ribs. He twisted. Another punch toward his face. A slight tilt of his head, and it passed harmlessly by. Then his counterattack. He slammed his palm into the tremor hands guy's elbow. Snap! Twisting it at an unnatural angle. The man screamed, but Adam was already moving, ducking under a wild swing from Stonehide and driving his knee into his gut. The impact should have done nothing with his hardened body, but Adam twisted at the last second, using just the right amount of force to send a shockwave through his internal organs. Stonehide wheezed, eyes wide, before collapsing. 3 down. The others hesitated now, eyes flicking between Adam and their fallen comrades. "Come on," Adam taunted, rolling his shoulders. "You guys hyped yourselves up for this, right?" They gritted their teeth, then attacked all at once. One had Shadow Stride, phasing in and out of the darkness, trying to catch Adam off guard. Another had Flame Veins, his body burning with intense heat, turning every punch into a firebomb. Adam dodged everything. Shadow Stride phased behind him. Adam pivoted on his heel and drove an elbow into his gut before he could solidify. Bam! Flame Veins swung a blazing fist at Adam's face. Adam leaned to the side at the last second and caught his wrist, twisting just enough to snap it. Crack! A scream. A kick to the face. Another one down. A brute with Titan strength charged at Adam, the ground shaking beneath each step. The moment he swung, Adam stepped into his guard. Close, suffocating. He jabbed quick, efficient, brutal. A precise strike to the throat, making the brute choke. Then a back fist to the jaw. A sharp knee to the ribs. A final blow to the solar plexus. The brute collapsed like a felled tree. One after another, the Black Veil enforcers fell. And through it all, Anya just stood there, watching, studying, waiting. By the time the last man hit the ground, groaning in pain, Adam exhaled slowly and rolled his neck. Man, that was underwhelming. Then, clap. A slow, deliberate clap.
Anya.
Her amber eyes gleamed with something dangerous. "Impressive," she said, stepping forward. "You took down all my men like they were nothing."
Adam Simirket.
"That's because they were nothing." Anya stopped a few feet away from him, cracking her knuckles. "Guess that means it's my turn."